Hello and welcome back to my channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Let's begin. Is anyone there? Ash asked and waited as he heard his voice echo around the Viridian City gym. He had been told that the gym leader was out of town, and the gym had a large closed sign in front, but he had promptly ignored that just as his mother had told him to do that morning. Ash had barely reached Viridian City in one piece, and had then almost had his Pikachu stolen by a group of thugs calling themselves Team Rocket, and then had gone for a nice, well-deserved night of sleep before Nurse Joy had woken him up at 4 in the morning, and told him that there was a phone call for him, and to come quietly without waking up Misty. His mom had looked worried, which was a novel sight for Ash. Is anyone there? Ash said again. The gym stadium was empty, and the lights were off, leaving the small windows at the top as the only source of light, which was hardly illuminating at this hour. Ash frowned. His mom had specifically told him to go to the gym without telling everyone, and it was just past sunrise. Nurse Joy seemed to be in on what was happening, but didn't say anything as she ushered Ash off. He had even left his Pikachu behind for now, as he was healing and wouldn't be ready to go until after a few hours. Suddenly a light went on, and was so harsh that Ash had to shield his eyes. "Forgive me, that was a bit theatrical," a male voice said. Once Ash's eyes readjusted, he saw a grown man with brown hair in a business suit walk up to him who looked vaguely familiar somehow. Trailing right next to him was a boy who was a bit taller than Ash, who had red hair, was wearing a dark jacket, and glared at Ash as if he was wondering what the easiest way to beat him up would be. "Who are you?" Ash asked. "I am Giovanni," the man said. "Also, though I'm not sure how exactly to say this, but well, I am your father." Ash blinked. A memory had just came to him. He did know who this guy was. He remembered that one Christmas, when he was 7, a man had visited them at their house. His mom had seemed slightly worried, but the man had been very nice to him and even gotten him a bicycle. His mom had not mentioned who he was, just that he should forget about it. "I can see that you're in shock," Giovanni said. "I suppose that is only to be expected. I wish to give you a card or maybe a cake for this occasion, but it was, rather difficult to find one that fit our situation." He chuckled at his own joke, but neither Ash nor the other boy so much as smiled. Well, it wasn't that good of a joke anyway. "Wait," Ash said, suddenly very confused. "If you're my father, why haven't you lived with us?" His mother always said that his father was out on business somewhere and didn't have much time for them, but she always stressed that he still loved them. "A man should of course remain with his family," Giovanni said. "But you see, that wasn't possible for me. Not with my workload, and I wish to keep you two safe." What does that mean?" Ash asked. "And why wouldn't Mom tell me this before?" "Well, you see, Ash, I am not sure exactly how to put this, but I am the leader of an organization known as Team Rocket," Giovanni said. The name clicked with Ash. "The same guys who tried to steal my Pikachu? And who steal Pokemon?" "Those guys are criminals," Ash said with a clear hint of disgust. Giovanni sighed. "I knew this would not be easy, but you cannot judge Team Rocket based merely on rumors, my son. However, it is true that my position leads to me having various powerful enemies. I did not wish harm to befall you." He glanced over at the boy beside him for a brief second as the boy gave the man a cold, hard stare. "I learned that lesson long ago. Why didn't Mom just tell me this over the phone?" Ash asked. "Why didn't you tell me over the phone?" "Phones can be tapped, Ash," Giovanni said. "And you see, your mother could never mention it to you earlier because she was scared that you were so young, and that you could have gone and told about it to someone like Professor Oak or to your friends. But you have turned 13 and have begun your Pokemon journey, and I felt it was the right time to tell you, and to indict you into the family business, so to speak." "How do I know you're not lying?" Ash asked. Giovanni laughed. It was a cold, short laugh, but Ash noticed a hint of warmth in it. "You definitely are my son. I suppose it is hard to believe, but think about why your mother would have sent you like this to me. You can go ahead and confirm it from her later. But why not just keep us with you? Ash asked. He didn't feel any sort of friendliness, but rather a sudden simmering rage for this man. We could have stayed with you. No, Ash, Giovanni said. It was far too risky, and I wanted you to have a normal childhood. One untainted by Team Rocket's legacy. Ash said, unsure of what to say. Speechless, the boy said. I attacked him when I found out, you know. You might want to try that. This, Giovanni said, casting a look at the boy, is Silver, your brother, or rather, your half-brother, though I hope the two of you will grow up to be as thick as thieves. Nice to meet you, Silver said and extended his hand. His stare could have punctured holes through a steelix, and his voice had as much warmth as an Articuno's breath. Ash extended his hand and shook Silver's. It lasted less than a fraction of a second. You see, before I met your mother, Giovanni said, I had another love and family, but alas, Silver's mother was killed and I thought that he too, was dead until I found him recently not 6 months ago. He had been kidnapped, but as you can see, the ordeal had been enough for me to realize that I couldn't make the same mistake with you and your mother. Oh, Ash said. It was the only thing he could think of to say at the moment, though he was pretty sure that it wasn't all that he wanted to say. With that out of the way, I believe I should give you an actual glimpse of what Team Rocket is, Giovanni said. You may have heard much regarding what Team Rocket is and does, but allow me to make it quite clear and simple. Team Rocket is simply a tool used for me to increase my own power, and to serve the interests of my family. As such, you will be a part of it as much as Silver currently. He has shown himself to be extremely proficient in expanding Team Rocket's interests. Silver looked at Ash smugly. It was the only time his cold expression had changed into something else. As such, Silver will become my heir, Giovanni said. But I wish for you too, to become an heir to Team Rocket's legacy. At this, Silver's smirk was wiped off his face and he whipped his head around to look at Giovanni, who was coldly ignoring him for the moment. Ash, you see, Team Rocket has almost reached the zenith of its power currently, Giovanni said. We can grow little further and can't restrain to the shadows like we are. As such, our only options are to expand towards Johto, a goal towards which Silver has very admirably committed himself, but the truth is, there is a limit to how much power we can obtain through criminal means. In order to achieve total domination, we need people in high places, in other words, we need the Pokémon League itself under our thumb. And that is where you come in. What did you want me to do? Ash asked. Well, you see, I have tried swaying the League into my favor, Giovanni said. But many have become suspicious of me and my intentions. I can go no further. What I want you to do is simple, what I believe you've always wanted to do. Become a Pokémon Master. I wish for you to wander the land, and aspire to become a powerful trainer, and one day, you will attain a position of respect, power, and influence that you can use to help Team Rocket in its goals. I have several covert operatives, but you will be the most covert, Ash. Out of the shadows in the room stepped out two people whom Ash recognized. You guys again? Ash asked. It was Jesse, James, and behind them was Meowth. Instead of singing their anthem, the two of them simply bowed to him. Well, forgive us, sir, for trying to take your Pikachu, Jesse said. It was simply a test, that's all, James said. Wait, what? Ash asked. They don't lie, Giovanni said. I asked them to try and steal Pokémon from you, and then one you'd fight back, to fail and let you win. Why? Ash asked. Simple. Didn't Officer Jenny witness you defeating them? Giovanni asked. And they are one of my most trusted henchmen and also highly wanted criminals. The fact is not lost that you helped defeat them, a fact that will be apparent to anyone who reads the local paper today. See, Ash, I wish for you to act like a normal trainer, and pretend to be on the side of those who oppose Team Rocket. But, we will let you succeed against us. In that way, your fame will slowly spread as an enemy of Team Rocket, as a person that no one in their right minds would ever accuse of being in cahoots with us. Giovanni put a hand on Silver's shoulder. Silver is a prodigious trainer. He will take Team Rocket far. But there can be no darkness without the light, and Team Rocket can only grow so far as a perceived criminal organization, and Silver lacks certain qualities that you have, Ash. Both him and I have long forgotten how it feels like to have a true bond with our Pokémon, but I think that you still have the potential. Also, Silver already has an extensive criminal record and cannot fill your role for you. So, you just want me to wander around? Ash asked. Do what you would have normally done, Giovanni said. Except that you, Ash, will soon become a hero, and I believe that would happen with or without my help. I've noticed one thing about you, Ash, and it's your charisma. You can make friends and inspire almost anyone to you, and I want you to make as wide a network as possible. Talk to everyone, simple trainers, gym leaders. I believe you're traveling with Misty, younger sister to the Cerulean City gym leaders. Yeah, her name's Misty, Ash said. Wait, her family's a gym leader. She may not have mentioned it, Giovanni said. But it was easy enough for me to find out. That's what I mean, find powerful people to befriend and help. Jesse and James will help you in that regard. They will constantly pretend to harass you throughout your journey, and you will defeat them and in so win the trust of large groups of people, though I believe that that is something you can do easily. Remember, no matter how strong a single person is, you will always need people to rely on. Jesse and James both stepped forward. I'm assigning the 3 of them as your protectors, Giovanni said. I've assigned another 2 agents, Bill and Cassidy, to help Silver. I wanted the 2 of you to meet before he sets off for Johto to deal with certain problems there. Consider us your humble servants, James said. Yes, we won't let a scratch get on your son, boss, Meowth said. They will keep an eye on you from afar, Giovanni said. And of course, they will also attempt to cause mischief wherever you go, for you to stop. I'm sure you will gain quite the reputation then. Only remember one thing, Ash, that your identity must be kept a secret. Do not talk about it on the phone or mention it to anyone who does not know. Even within Team Rocket, this will remain confined to the people in this room, so should you encounter another member of Team Rocket, do not disclose who you are to them. If you want to talk to your mother about us, do so in a roundabout way. Ash looked around the room for a second. So, that's it? For now, yes, Giovanni said. I'm sorry, but I do have other things to do, though I do have something to give you. He took out a Pokeball. Congratulations on turning 13. Here's a late birthday gift. Ash took the Pokeball. What Pokemon does it have inside? A Froakie, Giovanni said. It's a Pokemon not found in this region, but rather from Kalos. I give it to you as Brock, the Pewter City gym leader, and your next opponent specializes in rock types, and your Pikachu will be of very little use against him. A water type would help. Do keep in mind that it is rather temperamental though, however that Froakie is the last in line of a special breed said to be capable of transforming if the bond they have with their trainer is strong enough. Silver scoffed at this, though that may be just a legend. Oh, okay, thank you, Ash said, looking at the Pokeball. He was actually kind of excited to get another Pokemon. He had failed to catch another on his first try. Having 2 of them all of a sudden would be hard to explain, though he was sure that he could think of something to tell Misty and Professor Oak. Sorry I couldn't get you anything, Silver said, not sounding very sorry at all. Now Ash, before you leave, a few words, Giovanni said. I just want to let you know how proud I am of you. Your mother says you managed to reach Viridian City in only a single day, something that took me 3. You have the makings of a great trainer, Ash, and I do believe that you will lead Team Rocket into a new age. He sighed. I know it pained your mother to let you go, if she had but one wish I believe it would be for you to remain 10 forever. But that's not possible, son, we all have to grow up one day. Good luck. With a warm smile that was unfamiliar to many of his workers, Giovanni shook Ash's hand. Silver made a weird sort of salute, or maybe he was flipping Ash off, Ash couldn't tell. Jesse, James, and Meowth all bowed. There's one thing though, Ash said. He told his father about the strange golden Pokémon he had witnessed during the beginning of his journey. Well, I've never heard of such a thing, Giovanni said. Perhaps I can ask my scientists. I guess I should get back then, Ash realized. Misty will probably wake up and think that I ran away so I don't have to pay her for her bicycle. With that and his mind racing with possibilities, he ran out of the gym. Boss, Jessie said as she watched Ash leave, why not just give Ash some of our strongest Pokémon? Because, Giovanni said, he wouldn't be able to control them anyway. Also, he needs to grow up and learn to do things on his own. I won't stand around and hold his hand every step of the way, even his Froakie isn't very strong and he'll have to work on it himself. The sun had already come up. Ash wouldn't have usually woken up by this time back in Pallet Town, but some people in Viridian City were already up and about. Along the way, Ash spotted the day's local newspaper at a newsstand. On the very front page was a story about how the Pokémon Center had been broken into. Nothing big there, of course that was big news. There was a large photo of the Pokémon Center, and the article even had a photo of Ash on it, though there had been no reporters at that scene earlier. Jesse and James must have taken it and given it to a reporter somehow, or more likely Team Rocket had some agents in the local press. Ash was mentioned in a line towards the very end. Ash sighed, so this was what his dad had meant when he said that Jesse and James would try to help build his reputation as a Team Rocket fighter. Ash had mixed feelings about his recent encounter. Sure, it had been great to see his father, but he hadn't exactly been as warm as Ash had hoped, and it had felt more like he had come to Ash to tell him to work for Team Rocket rather than like he truly wanted to see him again. And Silver, well, Ash had never thought he'd meet someone who disliked him more than Gary. Ash decided to stock up on some food before he went back to the Pokémon Center. True, they did give meals to official trainers, but the food was kind of bland and Ash needed to stock up for when he'd move out for Viridian Forest. As he went to the bakery, the owner recognized him from the paper and insisted on giving him a free loaf. "Take it, kid," he had said. It's about time that someone stood up to those good-for-nothing thugs. Now, Ash would have refused even if he had actually defeated a group of Team Rocket members, but this felt like blatant stealing now that he knew it had been staged. In the end, he found himself unable to refuse the loaf without seeming very rude. It happened at the dairy also, and he ended up with a dozen extra bottles of milk. Some people on the street even recognized him and wanted to congratulate him. Talking to them made Ash feel uneasy for another reason. All of them clearly thought that Team Rocket was evil, and here he was the son of its very leader. Ash hadn't heard a lot about Team Rocket while in Pallet Town, but his discussions with other people clearly showed that they thought that Team Rocket was the worst of the worst. But the thing was that after finding his father after so long, Ash just couldn't believe that his father was an evil person. He was just probably misunderstood, yeah, that was it. And his mother would never have married a bad person after all. With this uneasy conviction, he walked back to the Pokémon Center to see Misty sitting in the lobby, and who looked pretty mad to see Ash. "Where were you all this time?" "It's 10 already," Misty said. "Sorry," Ash said. "I couldn't sleep with Pikachu like that, and I decided to go for a walk." Ash had plenty of time to think of a lie, and that seemed to be the most believable one. "Oh, I'm sorry," Misty said. "What's all that stuff you're carrying?" "Supplies," Ash said. "Here, want some bread? It's freshly cooked unlike what they have at the center." "Oh, thanks," Misty said and took a bite. "But that doesn't mean that you can get wiggle out of getting me a new bike." "Like I said, I'll get it to you when I have the money," Ash said. Truth be told, he did feel very bad about messing up someone else's property. And then he silently cursed himself, why hadn't he asked his dad for a new bike? But then he realized that explaining how he got a new bike away would be a whole lot harder than explaining how he got a Froakie all of a sudden. Misty sighed. "Guess I'm stuck with you, till then." Ash didn't retort as he instead went to go look at his best friend, and he found Nurse Joy along the way. Nurse Joy looked surprised to see him, in a, "I was sure that boy was going to end up dead, so why is he still here," sort of way. Ash had assumed that Nurse Joy was secretly working for Team Rocket from the way she had acted earlier that morning, but was she just a normal person? Had she been threatened then? And just how much did she know? How's my Pikachu doing?" Ash asked rather than risking betraying too much. "Oh well, I mean, it's doing fine," Nurse Joy managed to get out. "It should be ready to travel by this afternoon after it gets some rest. He is sleeping right now though, so I'd advise waiting a while to visit." Ash badly wanted to see his friend, but decided that it might be for the best to wait. Instead, he went to go use the telephone. To his annoyance, Misty had decided to show up. "Haven't you heard about privacy?" Ash asked. He didn't want her around during his phone call. "What? Why? Who are you calling?" Misty asked, and then she noticed the number. "Isn't that your mom?" She then had a sly grin. Does little baby Ash want to be alone with his mommy for a while? Do you need to cry a bit? It's okay, I'll leave." She trotted off as Ash shook his fist at her but otherwise didn't say anything, for now. He decided that lying to Misty was probably going to be pretty easy given how she was acting towards him. His mother seemed far more relaxed than she had been in the morning. "Hello Ash. How did your walk go?" she asked. "It was good," Ash said. "I saw a familiar face, and I learned a bit about Dad." "Oh," she replied. "Well, do remember that the walls have ears, dear." "Yeah," Ash said. "Was what I found true?" His mom nodded. "Yes." "Oh," Ash said. "Well, Pikachu's getting better and I'll head off for Viridian Forest sometime this afternoon." "Well, that's good to know. How was your day?" "It was pretty good, I guess," Ash said. "Oh well, I have some more good news," his mother said. "Do you remember Serena?" "Yeah, why?" Ash asked. "Oh well, she was visiting Kanto and she's setting off on a journey of her own," his mom said. "So I told her, well, why don't you go off with Ash for a while? The two of you could go on a journey together." And she said yes. "Really?" Ash asked. He then frowned. Whatever his mom said seemed highly unlikely to have happened by its own accord and extremely unlikely to have happened right now of all times. Wait a minute, what's really going on here? His mother looked uncomfortable for a second. "Well, you see Ash, I've always worried about you, and the moment you went outside of Pallet Town, well, the same day you ran into trouble and almost drowned after falling off a cliff, being electrocuted, and attacked by a flock of fierce Spearow." Ash then realized what this was about. "Mom! I don't need a babysitter." "I don't mean it like that," his mom said. "I just mean to say is that you're a bit inexperienced, that's all. And lots of things can happen even to an adult in the middle of the wilderness. You remember that story, don't you?" Ash sighed. Of course he knew the story, almost everyone in Kanto did. A few years back, a kid who had set out on an adventure had ended up lost in the woods and suffered a terrible fall. He was found in time, luckily, but had to be hospitalized for several months. The story made headlines, and eventually the Pokémon League was pressurized into raising the age minimum for setting out on a journey to 13 years instead of 10 years in an attempt to prevent further accidents. And it isn't like she's older than you or is going to try to boss you around, or is going to try to, well, what do you kids say these days? Steal your thunder. I think she won't do that, his mom said. She'll just tag along for a bit. And you know what they say, the more the merrier. You had fun with her before, and hey, even Gary has a group of cheerleaders along with him. It isn't like you'll be the only challenger from Pallet not traveling by himself. Yeah, alright, Ash said wearily. He didn't let his face show it, but he was kind of excited to see Serena again. At least she would be more fun to be with than Misty. When does she get here? Oh, in a week or so I think she'll reach Cerulean City, his mom said. I think I'll tell her to meet up with you somewhere around Pewter City. The next few minutes were spent on talk about how Ash was doing, if he'd eaten enough, etc. When the call was over and while Ash was waiting for his Pikachu to recover, he thought it was a good idea to check out his other Pokemon, his Froakie. He opened his Pokeball and it let out a blue frog, something that Ash had never seen before. Froakie, it went. The Pokemon pet its head and stared at Ash. Ash stared at it back. This continued for several minutes. Neither of them dared to make the first move. Finally, Ash raised his hand. The Froakie, a bit startled, took a step back, but Ash reassured it with his voice and calmly pet it. I'm your new trainer, Ash said. He then took a piece of bread. He figured the best way to get to a Pokemon's heart was to go through its stomach. It turned out he wasn't wrong, and he guessed the Froakie had been pretty hungry. It nibbled through the bread, and then some more, eventually polishing off half a loaf by itself. Ash then went to get a bowl for the milk, and by then Misty seemed to have noticed what he was doing. Where'd you get that Pokemon? Misty asked. Oh, while I was walking around Viridian City I saw it, Ash said. I gave it some food and it seemed to want to come along with me. Froakie raised an eyebrow at that. Ash realized that it could tell that he was lying, but thankfully it didn't do or say anything regarding that and turned its attention to the milk. As Froakie lapped up the milk, Ash took out his Pokédex, but it wasn't able to give a reading on the Pokemon. That's weird, Ash said. You know Professor Oak, right? Misty asked. Maybe you can ask him about it. But it looks like a water type to me. Froakie, the Froakie seemed to say in affirmation. How can you tell? Ash asked. Well, I mean it is blue, and its feet do look like they're meant for swimming, Misty said. Oh, Ash said. He then turned to dial Professor Oak's number. Hey, you know Professor Oak, right? Misty asked. Yeah, well, I mean kind of, Ash said. So is it true what they say about him? Misty asked. What? Ash asked. Well, I heard a rumor that one day that when Professor Oak was young, he got into an accident, Misty said. Someone was riding a bike indoors, and it collided with Professor Oak and he got injured as a result, but the accident then gave him psychic powers, and now, whenever someone tries to ride a bicycle indoors he warns them not to do so telepathically. Misty, don't take this the wrong way, Ash said. But that is by far the dumbest thing that I have ever heard anyone say. And that's really saying something. Yeah. I'll bet you'll beat that record soon enough, Misty scoffed. Professor Oak picked up the phone. Why hello, Ash. Professor Oak said. He was munching on a slice of pizza. I just got off the phone with Gary here, and he's just found his way to Pewter City already. Are you still in Viridian City? Yeah, I'm waiting for Pikachu to recover, Ash said. Say, Professor, do you know what this Pokemon is? Ash held up the Froakie. Professor Oak seemed to choke on what he was eating for a minute until he managed to find some water. When he found his voice, he said, Ash. Where did you find that Pokemon? Ash told Professor Oak the same lie he had told Misty. Well then, I know this may be hard to believe, Professor Oak said, but that Pokemon is not native to Kanto at all. It is only very rarely seen in the Kalos region. It seems inconceivable that you would have caught one. It makes one wonder how it got into Kanto in the first place. Ash thought it was funny that Professor Oak kind of bought this explanation when it was a lie, but hadn't really believed him regarding the golden bird Pokemon he had seen earlier even though that was true. Well, you know, maybe it was supposed to be delivered to Kalos but it got sent to Kanto instead, you know, the spellings are almost the same, Ash said. Professor Oak, Misty, and even his own Froakie looked at Ash like he was an idiot. See? You've already beaten what I said, Misty said. Well, I suppose it's great to know that you've finally caught one Pokemon, Professor Oak said. I think I'll send one of my aides to Viridian City to check to see if there are other similar Pokemon. Okay, Ash said. Do you know what moves it'd know? I think it would know Tackle of course, and maybe either Bubble or Water Gun, Professor Oak said. I'll have to ask around to be sure. Right. Thanks Professor, Ash said. By the way, Ash, Professor Oak said. I do believe that you ran into Jesse and James, 2 members of Team Rocket, no? Well, police are looking for a boy, about 17, with red hair who goes by the name of Silver who was reported to be somewhere in the area. He's said to be traveling with 2 other members of Team Rocket, I think their names were Bob and Cassidy. Haven't seen anyone like that, Ash said. Oh well, keep safe, Professor Oak said. Later that evening, just a few hours before sunset, Ash and Misty set off for Viridian Forest. They left the city far behind and as Ash approached the forest he remembered rumors regarding the forest, namely that new trainers much like himself could get lost for days within. Ash wasn't overly worried though, not now that he had 2 Pokemon with him. And though he'd never say it aloud, traveling with Misty did in fact give him some peace of mind that there was someone who was watching his back, even if that someone was constantly nagging him. It wasn't long before they encountered their first Pokemon, a Caterpie. Ash knew they weren't very strong, but he decided that it would be a good candidate for the first Pokemon that he'd catch. Misty shrieked the moment she saw the Caterpie. She didn't like bug Pokemon, and for that matter didn't want Ash to catch it. But, to her surprise, Ash sent his Pikachu out, and once she was finished freaking out she noticed that oddly enough, Ash was trembling. Sweat beads rolled down his face and he was shivering as if it were cold outside. Pikachu, come back. Ash said. Confused, his Pokemon hopped on back to him. The Caterpie went away, going on to whatever business it was on to before. What happened? Misty asked, slightly concerned. Do you not like bug Pokemon too? And no, Ash said. I just, well, I mean it wasn't that good of a Pokemon anyway, so I thought I'd leave it. Misty could tell that Ash was lying, but decided not to press him too much. Ash continued further when he noticed sounds of crying. Yes, either someone was crying, or had a really bad singing voice. In the clearing up ahead, he saw a young boy in a samurai outfit. That was hardly the strangest thing, tears were rolling down his eyes and his nose was running. What happened? Ash asked. The boy got up with a fierce expression on his face before he noticed Ash and calmed down somewhat. Some goons took my Pokemon. What? Who? Ash asked. As if on cue, 2 people and a Pokemon emerged from the forest. Prepare for trouble, Jesse said. And make it double, James said. To protect the world from devastation, Jesse said. To unite all evil within our nation, James said. To denounce the evils of truth and love, Jesse said. To extend our reach to the stars above, James said. Jesse. James. Team Rocket blast off at the speed of light. Surrender now, or prepare to fight, they said together. Meowth, that's right. Meowth added. You 2 again, Misty said with a frown. What are you up to now? Oh, look, it's the twerp and the twerpette, Jesse said. Look, we were just on our business when we noticed that this boy here had 2 fine Pokemon that were just too good for him. We decided to correct that. And with that over, do hand over your Pokemon as well, James said. We knew waiting for you in Viridian Forest would be a good idea. Yeah right, like I'm going to hand over my Pokemon, Misty said. Go. Stereo. Coughing and Eakins were sent out, and quickly defeated Misty's Stereo. The 2 of them seemed to be much stronger than their last encounter. Go. Pikachu. Froakie. Ash said. Pikachu, Thundershock. Froakie. Bubble, or Water Gun. Whatever it is you know. Froakie rolled its eyes but still sent out a stream of bubbles at Eakins. Jessie and James seemed to panic then for some reason, and their Pokémon took some damage from the attacks. Ugh, James said and withdrew his coughing. Jessie did the same. Well, you win this round, twerp, but we'll get you next time. They turned to run away, but not before throwing 2 Pokeballs on the ground. By the time Ash and Misty had picked them up, the criminals were too far to follow. They seemed to have given up a bit too quickly, Misty muttered. Yeah, well, you know, who cares? Ash asked. The important thing is that we got his Pokémon back. Why'd they drop these though? Misty asked. I bet they did it since they knew we'd hunt them down if they still had them, Ash said. Or they wanted to distract us while they got away. Misty didn't seem fully convinced though. Thank you, the samurai said as he opened the 2 Pokeballs to behold his Pinsir and Metapod. He looked at Ash and tears began to flow anew yet again. Kind sir, I don't know how to thank you for returning them to me. You were amazing. Just like some sort of superhero. On my honor as a samurai, I'll never forget your kindness so long as I live. Whoa, Ash said. It was nothing really. He still felt pleased nonetheless, even though he knew the whole thing was fake. Ash and the guy talked for a while before the samurai went off towards Viridian City, saying he had some business there, but he also added that he hoped that they'd meet again. Ash waved goodbye, and half an hour later the sun set and they decided to set up camp. 2 hours later, Ash had still not fallen asleep, though Misty was sleeping like a log. The thing was that Ash had been raised in a small house with a bed, and now that he was being forced to sleep on the hard ground in nothing but a sleeping bag, well, he just couldn't fall asleep. They made sleeping like this look so easy on TV. But they never showed how hard and uneven the ground was and especially how it was so uncomfortable. Eventually he decided to take a stroll. He got up, and suddenly noticed a noise coming from a bush at the edge of their camp. From the bush emerged a pair of eyes, and then a whole Pokémon. It was Meowth, and he beckoned over to Ash with a single claw. Ash glanced around. Misty and his Pikachu were asleep and he tiptoed over to Meowth. Hey there boss, Meowth whispered. We wanted to check up on ya. Jessie and James ain't here, it would be too hard for so many of us to sneak over. Right, Ash whispered. What was that deal with the samurai? Oh, he was the kid of some big hotshot movie producer, Meowth said. See, you might meet some important people on your trip, and some people who aren't important at all that you might never see again. But any of them could be useful later on. Right, Ash said. He then thought of something. Say, Meowth, what made you decide to join Team Rocket? Ash knew that people said that Team Rocket was vicious to Pokémon, but if that were so, why did Meowth join? I got a long story kid, Meowth said. But to make it short and sweet, let's just say that society was never kind to me. Team Rocket's a place for us so-called losers and failures to get back at a world that never cared for us. Look at us, we're basically a collection of rejects, people whom the world gave up on, but Team Rocket gave us another shot. Oh, Ash said. He kind of found himself liking Meowth. Meowth didn't act like Jessie and James owned him, but rather as if he were a third member of the team, and Jessie and James acted like that too. They treated Meowth like another human being, something that Ash had seen very few people do. Anything else you want to talk about? Meowth asked. I'm all ears if you need anything. Well, there was something. Ash said. He hadn't told Misty about it since he was too ashamed, but maybe Meowth would know something. You see, I saw a caterpie earlier. I wanted to catch it, but the moment I thought about catching it, well, my mouth suddenly went dry and I started shaking. The last time I tried to catch a Pokémon, well, I ended up nearly drowning after I fell off a cliff and had gotten shocked. I kept thinking about that whenever I thought about catching it, and I just couldn't. I knew I was safe unlike that last time, and I still couldn't. It's fine when I just battle, but the moment I think about catching them I freeze up. What kind of Pokemon trainer am I if I can't catch any more Pokemon? Meowth rubbed his chin. I think you might have, what do you humans call it, oh yeah, PTSD or something, from the experience. And don't worry about it, we all have our ups and downs. You won't believe how terrible Jesse and James were when I first met them, didn't know anything, but now look at them. Ash, it might be hard, but I'm sure that over time, you'll get over it, or maybe you should go talk to a shrink or whatever if it doesn't solve itself. Yeah, Ash said. Just remember, Ash, we're all rootin' for ya, Meowth said. And we've always got your back if you need anything. I just know that you're going to be a great leader for Team Rocket. Thanks, Ash said. You're a real pal, Meowth. Just then, Misty began turning in her sleep. Gotta go, Meowth said. Good luck. The next leg of their journey through Viridian Forest passed without any major incidents. Ash saw a Pidgeotto once, but like with the Cater Pie before, couldn't bring himself to try and catch it even though his Pikachu had taken care of it rather easily. As such, as they finally managed to make their way towards Pewter City and out of Viridian Forest, he couldn't but feel frustrated just when he saw an old woman hunched over along the path. She wasn't moving. Are you alright? Ash asked, rushing over. Misty was not far behind. The woman looked up, and Ash almost fell over backwards. She had dark, sunken eyes, and her green robe looked like it had been made up of leaves from the forest itself. She looked pretty spooky and had startled him. Hello child, worry not, I'm fine, she said, her voice sounding like a honchcrow's. She stood up. I am a fortune teller. Would you like your fortune told? I dunno, Ash said. Come on Ash, we all know that fortune-telling is fake, Misty said as she caught up and then ran off ahead once she saw that there was nothing wrong with the woman. Wait, I'm coming. Ash shouted after her. Don't you want to know about your father? The woman asked. Ash immediately stopped in his tracks. What do you know about my father? She pet her head. I see a dark cloud hovering over him. Boy, your father's life is in danger. What? Ash asked. The danger comes from within, the woman said. He will be betrayed by someone close to him. She then peered closely at Ash. I see. I see two brothers, as different as the summer and winter. One treads the night and shadows, the other shines in the bright of day. And yet, what are they but two halves of the same whole? After that she started staring at the ground again and didn't respond to anything that Ash said. Ash sighed and ran off after Misty. He would think about what he had been told later. They reached the Pewter City Pokemon Center at about 4 in the evening. Misty wanted to relax, but Ash wanted to go and challenge the gym as soon as possible. Misty yawned and said she was going to go rest though, so Ash went on his own. An hour later, Ash stormed away from the Pewter City gym, his Pikachu trailing right behind him. He walked towards an old mill by the side of the city, and sat down on a bench with his arms crossed. He was heaving with rage. So, what happened there kiddo? Someone said. Ash turned to see an old man whose beard and hat obscured most of his face. Nothing, Ash said and kicked a rock. Just that I went to go and challenge the JRK Brock, and then he started off by saying how someone like me could never beat him and all, and by the time he was finished and I was going to totally floor him, he said that the gym had to close since he had some urgent business and that I should come back next morning. Yeah right. He was probably just scared. If it was so urgent, why didn't he just battle me right off the bat instead of going on about how I couldn't beat him? We might have been finished in that much time. You shouldn't be so hard on him, the man said. And he was probably busy. You see, Brock's mom abandoned him and his family long ago, and then his good-for-nothing father left him to become a Pokemon trainer. And now, Brock is stuck at Pewter Gym trying to take care of all of his siblings all on his lonesome even though his skills could take him far beyond the post of gym leader. He probably had to do something for them. Follow me. Ash followed Flint to a house, where he saw Brock in a pink apron setting up decorations around the place. It must have been for one of his younger siblings' birthday party or something like that. So that's why Brock had to leave early. Huh, I never knew, Ash said. It must have been so hard not having his dad around. The man nodded. The name's Flint, by the way, son. Ash smiled. Okay, so Brock's name is a pun on rock, and you're called Flint. What are the odds? It's almost as if the two of you are related or something. No, Flint managed to get out after he had almost swallowed a lung. Must be just a coincidence, you know. Right, Ash said. But still, you're telling me his father never came back. Perhaps he's too ashamed to face his son again, Flint said. That's stupid, Ash said. I didn't see my dad for a long time, and he only met me some time ago. He didn't want to give out too much information. But I felt mad the first time, but now that I think about it, it was great to finally see him again. And I understand what he did, or at least I think I do. I'm sure Brock would also. Flint stared up at the setting sun. You really think so, huh kid? Yeah, Ash said. Just you wait though, tomorrow, I'll go and beat him, no matter how many siblings he has to take care of. Flint watched as Ash hurried off back to the Pokemon Center, and he sat where Ash had been, thinking of what could have been and what he should have done. Back at the Pokemon Center, Misty was finishing dinner when Ash came in and saw Nurse Joy. Nurse Joy. Good to see you again, Ash said. I'm sorry, have we met before? Nurse Joy asked. Yes, back in Viridian City, Ash said. Oh no dear, Nurse Joy said. You don't understand, that was one of my sisters. Wait, you're trying to tell me that every single Pokemon Center in the world is run by a Nurse Joy, all of whom look identical? Ash asked. Yup, Nurse Joy said and showed Ash her family's photo. And the same goes for Officer Jenny's too. Well, I guess I've seen stranger things, Ash said. And walked over to Misty. How'd it go? Misty asked. Ash told her what had happened. Well, if you ask nicely, I could lend you one of my Pokemon, Misty said. Nah, we'll do this together. Ash said. I do have my trusty Froakie, after all. Excuse me, but I couldn't help but overhear your conversation, said a man in a white lab coat. I'm one of Professor Oak's aides, and if you have a Froakie, I'm assuming that you're Ash Ketchum. Yes, Ash said. Well, I have something here for you, the aide said. I've come to upgrade your Pokédex. You see, normally the Pokédexes given out to starting trainers in Kanto have info only on Kanto and Johto Pokemon, since that's what they're likely to encounter, but very recently Hoenn was also added. Since you found that Froakie though, Professor Oak asked me to add the Kalos Pokédex to yours. Oh, gee, thanks, Ash said. This will only take a minute, the aide said. He took out a small chip and inserted it into the Pokédex and began fiddling around with the controls. And, we're done. I wish you luck. I'll be in the area studying stones in case you need anything. Thanks a bunch, Ash said. Then, he asked, have you seen a girl by the name of Serena around here? No, I'm afraid not, the aide said. Oh, Ash said. After he finished his dinner he decided to ring up his mother and tell her that he had finally reached Pewter City. He also asked about Serena, but his mother said that while her boat had landed near Cerulean City she hadn't reached Pewter City yet. As such, Ash decided to hit the hay early. After a week of sleeping on the ground, sleeping on a mattress was hard, as in it was way too soft. It felt like he was going to sink into the bed itself and it would swallow him up kind of like quicksand. He groaned. This just had to happen as he was just getting used to sleeping on the ground. The next morning, Ash and Misty set off for the Pewter City gym. I see that you've returned, Brock said in his usual manner. Yeah, I have, Ash said. Let's start then. Brock said. Let this be a 2-on-2 fight. Go. Geodude. Go. Froakie. Ash said and sent his Froakie out. Froakie. Use bubble. Ha, Brock said. You can blow your bubbles all you want, but against Geodude they dash. He stopped as he noticed that the bubbles had done massive damage to his Geodude. Well, it appears I took that move for granted. Geodude. Rock Tomb. Dodge it. Ash said. His Froakie was fast and dodged the boulders with ease, and another bubble took out Brock's Geodude. Well, Brock said. That wasn't much of an igneous strategy, but I guess that type advantage is simple enough. I've never seen a Pokemon like that before. It's from Kalos, Ash said. Looks like I'm between a rock and a hard place now, Brock said. Well then, I won't back down that easily, even against a type disadvantage. Go. Onix. Whoa, Ash said. He had never seen a Pokemon so big. He imagined trying to bring it to a Pokemon Center. Now that would make for a funny scene. Go Ash. You're doing great. Misty shouted from the stands. Her voice, however, was drowned out by those of Brock's many siblings booing at her and Ash. You know what they say, Ash said. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Froakie. Use bubble again. The attack hit the Onix hard, but it took it much better than the Geodude. Onix. Bind. Brock ordered. Get out of range. Ash said to his Froakie. His Froakie, however, watched helplessly as the Onix, which was extremely long, began to coil around Froakie, with the coils stacking so high that Froakie couldn't get out. Bombard it with bubble. The attacks began to seriously hurt the Onix, but Brock relentlessly ordered it to bind around Froakie. Froakie let out a cry of pain. Ugh, Ash muttered. Froakie. Don't let up with the bubble attacks. A few bubbles to the face caused the Onix to loosen its grip, and Froakie hopped along it like it would along a rocky cliff. Now for the finishing blow. Ash said. He raised his hand, but surprisingly, found that he couldn't. It was odd, then Ash thought that it was probably guilt. Yeah, Brock did all of this hard work for his younger brothers and sisters, and Ash could almost feel them holding on to him and preventing him from ordering the attack. And it turned out that that was because they were actually holding on to him. What are you doing? Brock asked. Let the challenger go. This is an official league battle. No interference is allowed. No, one of them said. We can't. We can't let this mean guy hurt your Pokemon, big brother. Mean guy? Ash asked. They were talking about him. Stop it, Brock said and withdrew his Onix. Ash, I apologize for that. You've clearly beaten me already. I forfeit. I'll give you the Boulder Badge. Brock's siblings let go of Ash. Just then, the doors to the gym opened to reveal Flint. Not so fast, he said. Everyone just stared at him. Not so fast, what? Ash asked. I dunno, Flint said. I thought it would look cool to barge in like that. That voice. Brock said. Father? Yes, my son, Flint said. I hope you can forgive me for my failures and for abandoning you. I always wanted to come back, son, but I could never find the courage to face you again after what I did. But meeting this young man, it reminded me that no matter what's happened up till now, I can still start taking responsibility from here on out. Dad. Brock said. Well, if you're coming back to the gym. Yes. Flint said. You don't need to worry about anything anymore, son. Go outside and follow whatever dreams you have. I know you've wanted to go much beyond being just a gym leader. Oh, well, first of all I need to tell you how to take care of the others, Brock said. You see, first of all, you need to make sure never to leave a belt on the floor. Sometimes they get mistaken for snakes. Remember to wake up at 5 in the morning and heat up the water, otherwise they'll get a cold. And oh yeah, Stacy's allergic to peppermints, and Hugo is allergic to peanuts, so watch out for those things. and you need to tie a bell on Dash. Wait, hold on there, Flint said. Let me get a notepad or something. Can I have my badge first? Ash asked. Brock nodded and gave it over to him. Ash and Misty went back to the Pokemon Center and Ash looked up a map. So I guess Mount Moon's our next stop then, Ash said and ran outside. It wasn't even noon yet, that was good, they could make excellent time then, and ignored how Misty was shouting behind him that he better get the money for a bike soon. As he approached the outskirts of the city, Brock asked him to stop. Hey! Wait up! Brock said. Look, see, the thing is, I've always wanted to become a Pokemon breeder, not a Pokemon trainer. What does a breeder do? Ash asked. Takes care of Pokemon, of course, Brock said. Well, I hope you do become a good one. I was actually wondering if I could tag along with you guys, Brock said. You seem to be a good trainer. It'd be more fun to travel with a buddy. Well, yeah, okay I guess, Ash said and his Pikachu shouted in affirmation and the three of them set off for Mount Moon, with Misty yelling at Ash right on their heels. When I look back at this chapter 1 see that it has bad puns, Ash almost being smart but messing it up, and corny believe in yourself speeches. This just might have been an actual episode of Pokemon. So I need your opinion here. Do you think that the pacing for this chapter was a bit off? I kind of skipped a lot of Brock's original description and battle since I figured that it had already happened in the anime and I didn't want to repeat it. I usually get told that I write too fast so I was wondering. Also, the scene where Flint breaks the news to Brock that he's his father was supposed to go something along the lines of Star Wars, but I gave up on that idea. Brock, Ash never told you what happened to your father. Flint said. Why? Why would Ash tell me anything? Brock asked. I am your father, Flint then said. No. Brock screamed. My dad's turned into a hobo. How did I not see that coming? Ash asked. Also, your mother is apparently alive, Flint said. We never knew because you might say that she was living under a rock. Officer Jenny gulped as she felt the ice-cold claw next to her neck. You'll never get away with this, she spat. I didn't come all this way to hear you whine, Silver said. His Sneasel had one of its claws near Officer Jenny's neck, and her Growlithe lay defeated nearby thanks to his Croconaw. He, along with Butch and Cassidy, had ambushed this officer as she had headed out for Goldenrod City. Now, if you happen to value your life, sign these documents, Silver said. He handed Officer Jenny a stack of papers. They were documents that were necessary if Silver and his minions were to wander Johto unhindered and necessary for various economic activities. As they had been handwritten, they needed an official signature and stamp to be valid. Officer Jenny reluctantly signed and stamped each of the papers. Thank you, Silver said coldly. And to answer your statement, I do believe that I will, on the contrary, get away with this. He snapped his fingers and Butch stepped forward with his Hypno. Hypno's usually only strong enough to entrance children, Butch said. But I'll have you know that this one is a special breed, rather good at wiping away memories no matter what the age group. By the time he's done, you'll be lucky to remember what color the sky is for several hours. Don't worry, the rest of your memories will come back but the past few weeks are going away forever. And don't worry, Cassidy said. You'll probably be found in a couple of hours, or wake up on your own, hopefully before some Pokemon decides to make you its next snack. You. Officer Jenny muttered before she fell under the Hypno spell. Silver nodded to his two team members as they head off. The papers were necessary as Silver needed to give Team Rocket a legitimate face within Johto. Hundreds of thousands of those documents were signed every year, and this Officer Jenny had probably signed off on many of them in the past few weeks which they couldn't all declare invalid, giving these ones credibility. Getting started in Johto had been harder than Silver had thought. They didn't have many of their normal facilities like they did in Kanto, and very few of their criminal connections were there. What would be a good front for us? Silver muttered as much to himself as his two associates. Perhaps another casino, sir. Butch said. It's been done, and in case Kanto's casino gets compromised we need another alternative since it would put suspicion on our own casino, Silver said. A dairy farm would be an easy way to do this, but there is already one to compete against. The competition can be taken care of, Cassidy said. True, but that will take time, Silver said. Suddenly, he smiled. He had come up with a great idea. A few days later, Silver watched in satisfaction as construction began in Cherrygrove City. His idea was a simple one, albeit borrowed from Unova. Silver had decided to open a stadium for Pokemon musicals much like those in Unova. As it was in Cherrygrove City there was no gym leader nearby to snoop on them, and the city itself had a relaxing air that would draw quite a crowd. Also, people from all over the region would come to show off their best Pokemon, meaning that Team Rocket wouldn't have to go to them to see who hunt for who had the rarest Pokemon, their trainers would come to them. Silver could sell tickets for shows also, meaning that it was also easy to falsify how many they had sold and whiten money they had earned through other activities. And of course, musicals needed lots of staff, makeup artists, lighting experts, extras, etc., which were easy roles for his grunts to disguise themselves as. The icing on the cake was that the stages would be made hollow, making them places where Silver could hide smuggled Pokemon as well as equipment. Sir, there's been a problem, Butch said to him. Cassidy was also with him. Silver snapped out of his reverie. What happened? A few of our boys were selling Slowpoke tails, as usual, Butch said. But then there was a raid, and they're currently in prison in Azalea Town. Silver sighed. When he had been introduced to Team Rocket for the first time he had learned of their pecking order. Giovanni was at the very top, and beneath him were 4 extremely powerful and callous trainers known as Giovanni's Dogs of War, though there were only 3 now that Mark had died in a mysterious accident near Cinnabar Island 2 years ago. Beneath them were people like Butch and Cassidy who distinguished themselves by their white uniforms. Beneath them were all those who wore black uniforms, though there were 5 ranks even within these. Silver was unsure where he, or Ash for that matter, fit onto this scale. All that he had been told by his father was that he was in charge over the Johto region, and that he had to bring it under his control. That was quite literally all that Giovanni had told Silver. There had been no more help or hints, it was just that Giovanni expected it to be done. That was actually quite fine for Silver, since he would have hated to be micromanaged, and the freedom gained by his position was only soured by the fact that it meant that he had to take care of all of his underlings. And boy were they needy. How are they guarded? Silver asked. Several officers, and Bugsy himself might also be there, Butch said. It sounds like they've put some real manpower in holding them. My Zubat isn't old enough to carry me, Silver said. We're going to need another way to get there. I'll get our hot air balloon, Butch said. Sir, let us come with you, Cassidy added. Silver liked to work alone, but if he was going to be outnumbered, well, some help might not be too bad. Let's leave quickly then, Silver said. Butch and Cassidy were the highest-ranking people Silver had and the only ones who had earned white uniforms, which made him think that having one of Giovanni's Dogs of War would be useful right now. Silver observed the prison through his night vision binoculars. He had been told that 10 regular members and a scientist had been captured. He figured the best time to try and rescue them was during the wee hours of the night when the guards would be drowsy and they could easily slip away. He had considered leaving the imprisoned members to their fate. After all, they deserved it in his opinion for being stupid enough to be captured, but then reconsidered as he realized that they probably had knowledge about other things in Team Rocket and maybe even about his Pokemon musical theater. Who was to say that they wouldn't blab if offered a plea deal? Not to mention it was important, he supposed, for the grunts of Team Rocket to know that they had a sort of safety net to fall on if they were captured, and it would look bad on him if Team Rocket members were doing prison time. Because of course, not a single member of Team Rocket had ever been prosecuted. And Silver knew that that fact carried weight, and was why thousands of grunts didn't suddenly defect. Team Rocket had a reputation, you gave Team Rocket loyalty and Team Rocket took care of you, PRD. And Silver had to maintain that reputation. The building had two entrances, one out front and another at the very back. The plan was that Cassidy and Butch would charge from the front with their hypno, putting the guards to sleep. It would attract notice from the other guards who would move towards the front, while Silver would sneak in from the back. Silver put on his mask. It was important that his face go unrecognized now, and he didn't trust Butch and Cassidy to be able to handle this themselves, and he had no one else strong enough that he could currently rely on, not to mention he preferred doing things himself. People sort of recognized him, or at least his description of him with red hair. Red hair really made him stand out. He had considered dyeing it a different color like black or brown. Or maybe even silver. He crawled towards the back door and then spoke into a walkie-talkie asking Butch to enter the front of the building. Once that was done, Silver waited for a minute before picking the lock to the back door. There was a guard there, of course, but Silver had expected that. His sneasel dealt him a swift icy wind and froze him in place. Silver crept around when he saw Bugsy. The leader was snoozing away at a desk, and Silver had not intention of waking him up. He met up with Butch and Cassidy, who were working on opening the locks to the cages, or rather, they were breaking them. "You're here to rescue us," one of the prisoners said. "Yeah, I know those two, that's Cassidy and her partner, Bowser," someone else said. Cassidy stepped on Butch's foot to stop a retort she knew was coming that might alert more guards. It was hard for people to remember Butch's name for some reason. The only ones who did were those who spent some time with him regularly, like herself and Silver. "Who else is here?" Silver asked. "There were 10 of us and a scientist, we were all put in separate rooms except for us," the grunt answered. "Find them," Silver said. "We need to get out of here quick." "You should just surrender," a voice said. "Otherwise you may land in a sticky situation." Bugsy appeared out of a doorway, and released his scyther and Lediba. "Go. Go," Silver said. "Find the others and get them out, I'll hold him off." "Escape." Silver sent out his Sneasel and Croconaw. Neither side had a specific advantage, but Silver was confident in his ability to take on the gym leader. He heard the others leave behind him, no one had offered to stay with him and they had all ran to save their own hide, as expected of course within Team Rocket. "Icy Wind. Ice Fawn," Silver ordered, going for the Scyther first. Both attacks landed and did devastating damage, though Scyther countered by using Double Team. Images of the Scyther hovered around in the air and completely surrounded Silver and his Pokémon. Silver smirked. "That's an old tactic. Croconaw. The one with a shadow is the real one. Ice Fawn." With that, the Scyther was wounded enough so that Bugsy didn't dare leave it undefended and its mirror images vanished. Just then, the flow of battle was interrupted as Butch came back. "What happened?" Silver asked in alarm, keeping an eye on Bugsy in case he tried to take advantage of this opening. Butch was panting. "The entire place is surrounded by silk," Butch said. "We can't cut through." Bugsy smirked. "I had known that someone would come to try and rescue these crooks, so I had a team of Caterpie and Metapod hidden away in the forest and had them surround this house with string shot when I noticed someone had broken in. You're not getting away that easily. Up till now, no Team Rocket members ever done serious jail time. I'm going to change that. Your reign of terror ends here. This is the beginning of the end for Team Rocket." Silver smiled, which sent shivers down Bugsy's spine. "And it didn't occur to you through this plan that this would mean that you're stuck in here with me? I can be a rather unpleasant person, you know, especially when I'm angry." Bugsy gulped. "I can hold you guys off for enough time for reinforcements to get here." Silver turned to Butch. "Do you have a fire-type Pokémon that can burn its way through?" "Yes sir," Butch said. "But the thing is that the fire would spread too quickly, the silk is very flammable, and engulf the whole prison dash." "Do it," Silver ordered. He then glared at Butch when he saw that Butch hadn't budged. "That was an order." Yes sir," Butch said. "Finish them off." Silver ordered his Pokémon. Croconaw took out Sither with an ice fang, and Ice Shard from Sneasel took care of Lediba. Darn it, Bugsy said. You won't get away with this. Silver yawned. Like I haven't heard that before. And trust me, I don't do things if I'm not certain that I can get away with them. After he froze Bugsy, but not before he took the hive badge. Maybe he could sell that thing, and anyway, he had technically defeated Bugsy. He turned his attention to the raging fire about to consume the house and found the others. Some of them had escaped, but Butch and Cassidy were still trapped due to the raging inferno. Croconaw, use water gun. Silver commanded. To his dismay however, the Croconaw was not sufficient to take out the fire. It had spread too much and was far too much intense. What do we do? Butch said, clearly worried. Well, I wasn't going to resort to this, but desperate times and all, Silver said and took out a pokeball and released it. A huge Tyranitar came out. Of course, the first thing that it noticed were the raging flames, and boy did that make it angry. I didn't know you had a Pokemon like that, boss, Cassidy said. Yes, for good reason, Silver said. I don't know how to control it. The Tyranitar called a huge sandstorm that cut off the fire's oxygen supply and extinguished it within a few seconds. Silver recalled it before it could go on a rampage. He remembered the last time he had sent it out, a building had collapsed before he had been able to withdraw it. Silver got out and of course, people were coming towards them thanks to all the commotion. There will be more officers here, Cassidy said. Hide in the woods. We'll get away once they're done looking. No. Silver said. Not the woods, he could have rigged them with some more bug Pokemon. Go towards the road, we need to be fast. Our balloon can't carry all of us. We'll move in tight formation and take down anyone stupid enough to stand in our way. What followed was a long chase with them barely avoiding or beating patrols at times until they finally managed to beat their way back by sunrise. There, Silver finally took off his mask and the others changed into uniforms made for construction workers in order to blend in. Silver sighed. Here he was, dealing with all this, and his half-brother was probably off somewhere far away enjoying life. Pa. Some people had all the luck in life, but Silver had learned to make his own luck long ago. He didn't like people in general, and that went doubly so for Ash Ketchum. Even someone as blind as a Zubat could see that his father loved Ash more than he cared for Silver. After all that time alone, right when Silver had thought he'd found a family and someone who'd care for him, he'd been brushed aside like he was some sort of nuisance and shipped off to Johto once Ash had appeared. There was, however, a silver lining. Almost no one knew that Ash even existed, and once Giovanni was gone, Silver knew that it would be child's play to get rid of Ash and rule over Team Rocket on his lonesome. Silver had learned long ago that strength was all that a person could count on, and he was determined to be as strong as possible. For the strong ruled over the weak, and that was all that mattered to Silver. Ash was making his way towards Mount Moon when he noticed someone lying down on the ground. Help me. It was an old man in a green robe. Ash and his friends ran on over. Please, just a few minutes over there, my family must be looking for me, the man said and gestured weakly. Please find them. All right, Ash said. No, please, you stay here with me, child. The man breathed weakly. Others, go. I wish for some company in case I don't make it. As Ash watched his friends go away, he tried to think of something that he could do. Use his Pikachu as a defibrillator. Nah, that would never work. Oh good, they're finally gone, the man said and took off his wig to reveal. James. Whoa. Ash said. James, that was a great disguise. I never would have noticed you, it was like how Superman disguises himself as Clark Kent. Oh yes, Jesse and I were very good at disguises, James said. We were so good that our own instructor didn't recognize who we were in class and failed us since he thought we hadn't attended any of them. Yeah, and Pikachu. Couldn't tell that it was you either, Ash said. Even though you should probably smell the same. That's weird. Pika? Pikachu asked, ping its head slightly. It recognized James, but what was this going on? Oh, we have a special perfume that masks our scent from Pokémon to a large extent, James said. But on to that later. I've heard that you managed to get your first badge, and not only that, but the pewter gym leader is now traveling with you. I must say that that's a job well done, you're really expanding your network here. Giovanni would be proud. Ash turned slightly red. Well, it was nothing. Well, I'd like to share some more small talk, James said. But your friends'll be here any minute now. I have a mission for you, or more precisely, the boss does. Really? Ash asked. What is it? It's nothing too complex really, James said. You need to catch a Clefairy. A Clefairy? Ash asked. What's that? Check your Pokédex, James said. But long story short, Clefairy is a Pokémon from space, or at least people say so. Team Rocket wants one to study about how such a Pokémon came from the cosmos. Sounds like something from a sci-fi movie, Ash said. Well yes, but Team Rocket wants one for more practical purposes, James said. There is a particular Pokémon rumored to be from space that we're interested in. We want to study the Clefairy's behavior, but the ones who have been with trainers for too long stop behaving as they did in the wild. So, we want a fresh one, but our current team sent for the task hasn't had much success. So that's where we want you to come in. Oh, Ash said. Do you still have trouble catching Pokémon? James asked. I think I've gotten better, Ash said. But I haven't caught another one yet. Well, if you think it'll be too hard I could dash. No, I can handle it, Ash said with a conviction that he was surprised he had. I'm sure I can. Just make sure that no one sees you catching it or people will wonder where it went, more specifically, your friends, James said. After you find it and go towards Cerulean City, we'll come to pick it up. And another thing, you may run into some rocket grunts, but remember that they don't know about you. Right, Ash said. Hey, I wanted to ask something, how did you know I was going to be here? I mean, I could have taken some other path. Your Froakie's Pokeball has a tracer attached to it, James said nervously. I hope you don't mind, the boss thought it was a good idea and it kind of does help us stay in contact with you. Okay, I don't mind I guess, Ash said. He guessed something like that was just the price of being Giovanni's son. Plus, it showed that like his mom, his dad did care for him. By the way, were you or Jessie also the old fortune teller I met earlier? No. What fortune teller? James asked. Forget about it, it was probably nothing, Ash said. Jessie and I will try disguising ourselves, James said. We'll dress up in karate uniforms and we'll say that we teach Mega Punch and Mega Kick outside of Mount Moon. James then put on his wig. I think I see a dust cloud. Someone's coming, probably your friends. James then ran off. Wait. What do I tell them about what happened to you? Ash called out. Pikachu still looked confused. Hey. Where'd he go? Brock asked. We looked everywhere for his family but all we saw were a bunch of trainers, Misty said. No one knew him. Ash said, wondering what he should make up. He suddenly said that he felt positively better and then sprinted away. Both Brock and Misty gave Ash blank looks. Does he usually say stuff like this? Brock asked Misty. I've been with him for only a few weeks, Misty said. But I think, yes. I don't think he's taking any medication or something like that. Ash, what really happened? Brock asked. I dunno, Ash said, wondering about what it was that he should say. Maybe he was a ghost or something and he just hangs around random paths like that. He left a trail of footprints, Brock pointed out. Yeah, but it does look like he ran off. That's weird. Do you still have your wallet, Ash? Misty asked. Maybe he was a con man or something. You don't know the half of it, Ash thought, but he said, nah, he didn't take anything. I say we forget about it and head for Mount Moon. Still pretty weird though, Brock said. Pikachu looked even more confused than ever before. Ash was going to have to explain things to him later on. As they continued walking, Ash was preoccupied with thinking about just how he was going to catch a Clefairy. He hoped he had gotten over the incident with the Spearow before, and he absent-mindedly played with an empty Pokeball in his hand. It was easy enough to imagine doing it, and unlike before in Vidian Forest, his hand didn't seem to clench up at the very thought of it. Maybe, just maybe, he'd be able to do it. Ash was so lost in his thoughts that he didn't pay attention to what Brock or Misty were doing, and as a result, he didn't see the smoke until it had almost filled the horizon. Ash! What are you waiting for? Let's go see what's up. Misty said. Ash snapped out of his reverie and chased after them until they found the source of the fire, a Pokemon Center that had recently been ablaze, with the few remaining embers still snorting in the midday heat. Strayed all across the plains surrounding the burning building were several Pokemon in hospital beds and several trainers scattered here and there. What happened here? Brock asked. Let's find out, Ash said. Further away, he spotted a rather familiar figure in uniform, or rather, two of them. Nurse Joy, Officer Jenny, Ash said as he ran over to them. Nurse Joy looked just like her sisters save for the fact that it appeared that part of her uniform had been burnt, and she looked like she had been crying recently. Is there something wrong, trainer? Officer Jenny asked. She then frowned. You look familiar somehow. Yeah, back in Viridian Dash, Ash said before he realized that this was probably a different Officer Jenny, but then how did she know him? Who burnt this place down? Misty asked. It was Team Rocket, Nurse Joy said. Her voice was sore and raspy. They came, and wanted for me to heal their Pokemon. But I said I wouldn't. I can't legally, only officially recognized trainers are allowed to get their Pokemon healed, so they started threatening me. They threatened to burn down the Pokemon Center, and they did. I don't think they meant it, they were probably just starting a small fire as a threat, but they noticed that it was getting hotter and uncontrollable so they ran away. We managed to get everyone out and all, but the Pokemon Center won't be of any use anymore. How many of them were there? Ash asked. Around 10 of them, and they were wearing black uniforms, Nurse Joy said. But that's not all. They also took a trainer hostage, someone who was brave enough to stand up to them. They told us not to follow them. And all of this happened 2 hours ago, correct? Officer Jenny asked. Nurse Joy nodded. Darn those Team Rocket goons, Misty said. They went ahead and burnt down a Pokemon Center. Ash nodded. He was guessing that these were the grunts that James had mentioned who had failed to catch a Clefairy. And they took a trainer hostage too. And all he did was stand up to them. Nurse Joy shook her head. Not he, she. It was a girl. She had arrived just a few minutes before Team Rocket did. I don't remember much of what she said, but she sounded and looked like she came from Kalos. Ash felt as if a lead brick had slid inside his stomach. A girl from Kalos? Nurse Joy nodded. She was about your age too. Ash opened up his Pokédex and began shifting through a section where there were photos stored. His mother had given him a current photo of Serena so he'd know what she looked like now. Did she look like this? Ash asked, holding the photo up. Who's that? Misty asked. She narrowed her eyes. Why do you have her photo stored in your Pokédex? Ash ignored her. He had bigger things to worry about. My dear, yes, did you know her somehow? Nurse Joy asked. She's a friend of mine, Ash said. He then beckoned to his Pikachu. Those thugs'll still be in Mount Moon, right? Wait, you can't seriously be thinking of going after them. Nurse Joy said. They're a criminal organization, you're just a 13-year-old child. I've dealt with them before, Ash said. And Brock here is a gym leader. I guess Misty might be sort of useful too. Misty punched Ash in the arm. Right, Brock? Ash turned around to see Brock, who was staring between Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny like a child would between pizza and ice cream. His face had turned oddly red and he had a vacant expression. Oh, now I remember you. Officer Jenny said. You stopped Team Rocket from trashing that Pokemon Center back in Viridian City. I saw your photograph in a paper. And is he really a gym leader? Brock snapped out of his reverie and got on his knees. Nurse Joy. You don't know how much it tears my heart to see you in this condition. By my honor, I will right this wrong. Officer Jenny, worry not, I'll take care of Ash while we go and hunt down these miscreants. No road will stop us, time itself will pose no obstacle, the very wrath of Mother Nature herself won't cause us to dawdle a bit in our quest for truth and justice. Ash could swear that Brock's eyes were almost on fire. Brock, I nearly creamed you in our last fight, Ash said. So what makes you think that you're going to be protecting me? Alright, Officer Jenny said, not sure of what Brock meant exactly. If you want to help, well, wait for me, I'll get some backup and maybe you kids can assist me. Nurse Joy turned to Ash. I think I've heard of you too, my sister in Viridian City told me about a trainer who had protected her Pokemon Center. I just want to thank you, and please, do something about Team Rocket. They can't be allowed to go unpunished forever. Just wait here, Officer Jenny said. I'll be done collecting intel in about an hour, and then we can formulate a strategy and leave. The moment Officer Jenny moved out of earshot and turned her back to them, Ash ran off towards the entrance to Mount Moon. Wait up. Didn't you hear what she said? Misty asked. I don't have time to wait. Ash shouted back. His mind was reeling, there was far too much happening all at once. As far as he could figure of the situation, these goons were low-level workers who were separate from Jesse and James and therefore didn't know about him, meaning that he would have to fight them for real. And that meant that it was possible that Serena was going to be hurt. He tried not to think about that, and instead doubled his speed with his Pikachu matching it right beside him. He didn't want Officer Jenny tagging along, his task would be difficult enough as it was without someone like her nosing in. He didn't want to really expose the Team Rocket grunts or to see them arrested. But if they had done something to Serena, he thought darkly, then it wouldn't matter if they worked for his dad. They would pay, as simple as that. Hold up, I'm coming. Brock shouted, surprisingly nearly keeping a pace with Ash. I promised Officer Jenny I'd look after you. Boys. Misty sighed softly as she saw the dust cloud generated by them recede further and further away. She started running towards them too, albeit much more slowly. Hey! Wait up! I'll come too, you know. Ash found himself stopping, his body couldn't run much faster even if he wanted to. And then he remembered that on top of everything, he still also had to catch a Clefairy. And that too despite his problem in trying to catch Pokemon, and it had to be when no one would see him. Why couldn't things ever be easy? There are only three things that are infinite: human stupidity, the universe, and the number of Zubats located in Empty Moon. Ash had run into hordes of them, they formed a never-ending sea of wings and noise that completely surrounded Ash and his comrades like the ocean around the tiniest of islands. Thankfully, they didn't seem to want to bother them too much, but it had been over half an hour and Ash hadn't seen any sign of either Serena, Team Rocket grunts, or a Clefairy. This place is huge, Ash, Misty said. We should have waited for Officer Jenny. We could be here for days and not find anything. Then we just need to split up then, Ash said. 3 separate people can scan this place better than a single group. SP split up? Misty asked hesitantly. It was obvious from her expression, though she'd never say it aloud, that she didn't want to wander around a dark cave with Arceus knows what in it all alone. Wouldn't it be safer if we were to stay together? But we'll never get anything done that way. We need to split up, and I can't do much with you two weighing me down. Ash snapped back angrily. His voice echoed around the cave unnaturally, the Zubats rustled as the loud noise disturbed them, and Misty had an odd expression on her face. Almost as if she was about to cry. "Well, I don't know much about going in alone," Brock said, trying to bring back some sense into the conversation. "And there are way more of them than there are us, Ash." "Well, I don't know about you, but I'm going off on my own," Ash said and angrily stormed off. Once he had taken 50 paces and he couldn't see his friends any longer. Ash immediately felt guilty. For one, he had gone and let out most of his pent-up anger on Misty. It wasn't her fault that Serena had been taken, and he had just gone and been a bit of a JRK to her. He couldn't believe he had just called both her and Brock dead weight, and after all that Misty had done for him. Her face swam in front of her eyes, and he remembered how Brock seemed disapproving too. While he tried justifying his behavior in his head, in the end he realized that he had messed up and made a note to apologize to her once this was all over. Secondly, Ash knew that he had to do this thing alone. It would have been impossible to catch a Clefairy in secret with them breathing down his neck. He was so occupied with these thoughts, however, that he didn't notice the clue until Pikachu started squeaking when he found something stuck to a rock. Ash glanced at it. It seemed to be a piece of black cloth. It must have gotten torn off of someone's clothes. Black, just like a Team Rocket grunt's uniform, though that really didn't mean anything in and by itself. Lots of people wore black clothes, including Ash for that matter with his black shirt. But it did mean that people had come along this trail, and it was the first thing even resembling a clue that he had found in this tunnel for so long. Ash kept going along his path until he spotted a source of light that was separate from his flashlight, and it was coming from around a corner. As he crept closer, he could hear voices. Ash neared the corner and heard two people talking. "Please. Just let me go," a young female voice said. "Not so easily," a different female voice said. There was a shout of a Pokémon. Immediately, visions of Serena being tortured entered Ash's mind, and in the heat of the moment he didn't care how many rocket grunts he was up against. "Stop this right now." Ash shouted and stepped around the corner with his Pikachu following him. He beheld a sight different from what he'd expected. On the cave's floor were lying 3 Team Rocket grunts, all of them tied up with rope, and standing in front of them with a weird fox Pokémon next to her was Serena. Serena looked around and then her eyes widened. "Ash. Is that you?" Ash realized that this was the second voice that he had heard. The first one had probably come from one of the grunts Serena had taken out. "Yeah," Ash said. "I was looking for you." "Oh, Ash," Serena said, and immediately ran over and hugged Ash. It lasted a bit too long for Ash's comfort, but he supposed that with Serena scared and all, it would have been rude to try and pry her off. "I thought you'd been kidnapped," Ash said. "And I came running as soon as I found out." "Oh, I was," Serena said after she let him go. "So I was taken and did the whole hopeless maiden act until they let their guards down, and then I took my Fennekin and took them out while the rest of them went to scout for some fossils." "Oh," Ash said. "That's pretty cool." "And, oh Ash," Serena said with her face blushing, "did you really come running all this way just to save me?" "You bet I did," Ash said. "I'd never leave a friend of mine behind." Serena's face fell considerably at the use of the word friend, though Ash couldn't figure out why. "Oh," she said. "Well, I was just about done with these guys. Did you know that no Team Rocket members have ever done jail time?" "Well, I'll be sure to make sure that these guys pay." "Where are the others then?" Ash asked. "I told you, they said they were going out to look for something about fossils," Serena said. "You sure?" Ash asked. "Nothing about Clefairy?" Serena frowned. "Clefairy isn't that rare, Ash. I don't know why they'd be after something like that. I mean, it's really just a pet with not much battle potential." Right, Ash said, making a note that he couldn't let any more information on Team Rocket slip up. "These guys have a lot of equipment," Serena said, pointing down a tunnel at the end of which another artificial light source was visible. "Come on, let me show you what's there." Her Fennekin trailed behind her, but once Ash was sure that she wasn't looking, he trailed off towards the nearest Team Rocket member. Don't say anything, Ash said. Don't even breathe wrongly. Ash grabbed a knife and cut the ropes binding him. I'm letting you off just this once, and when I do, take you and your friends away from here and make sure never to cross paths with me again. You're lucky you didn't hurt her, otherwise. Ash trailed off. The rocket grunt freed his wrists and stared at Ash. 1,000 questions went through the grunt's mind, but the foremost thought he had was surprise at what he saw in this young boy's eyes. There was something dark in there, a potential to develop into extreme ruthlessness. The grunt gulped, those intense eyes sent a shudder down his spine. He couldn't place it exactly, but he had felt such a cold stare sometime before. He had a feeling that the person who had those eyes was capable of extreme cruelty if pushed too far. Ash left them before Serena could notice that he was trailing too far behind, but gave orders to Pikachu to guard their rear in case the three members were stupid enough to try and attack them from behind. The tunnel led to a small hideout covered with maps and detailed documents where there seemed to be plans about Team Rocket inscribed there. Isn't this great? Serena asked. We need to go show Officer Jenny all this. Right, Ash said while wondering how he could possibly dispose of all of this without Serena realizing it. Nothing came to mind for now, so he said. Yeah, see, I was traveling with 2 other people and we split up to try and save you. Then they might have run into the other members. Serena gasped. There's no time to lose, we have to find them. As they came back to where the Team Rocket grunts had previously been bound, Serena noticed the very obvious fact that they were gone. Drat! Serena said. And after all they did too. Those slippery snakes got out of this one. Yeah, but let's focus on finding Misty and Brock, Ash said. Misty and Brock? Serena asked. One of them is a girl. Yeah, I accidentally ruined her bike so she's been following me around until I managed to pay for it, Ash said. And Brock used to be a gym leader. Really? Serena asked. Yeah, I even have his badge, Ash said, showing it to her. Wow, you've already gotten started already, Serena said, impressed. I just barely got Fennekin and you've made so much progress. It's not really that much, Ash said. Just one badge. Come on, let's go look for them. Brock wasn't really sure what to say to Misty. Even he could tell that she was upset, and that was being as dense as he was, but he wasn't exactly very good at trying to get anyone older than 10 to cheer up. Ice cream usually worked with his brothers and sisters, but something told him that it wouldn't with Misty. Hey Misty dash, Brock finally managed to cough up when he felt that the ongoing silence had been awkward enough when Misty froze as she saw something move. It was a Pokemon that Brock recognized as Paras. He had heard that the mushrooms it carried were great for recipes on one cooking show. However, these thoughts were drowned out as Misty let out a high-pitched scream that echoed all around the cave as she ran away from the Paras as fast as she could. Wait up! Brock shouted, realizing that this was like when he and Ash had run off towards Moon with Misty behind them, except the roles had been reversed here. Brock actually lost sight of Misty a couple of times and was only able to find her thanks to the sound of her panting. I don't like bug Pokemon, Misty said. I'll say, Brock said. He rubbed his sides, they were sore and he felt like his lungs were burning. Well, if there was one good thing about this, it was that Misty had forgotten about Ash for a few seconds. Well, I think we should keep looking, Brock said, before he realized that he now had no clue where he was. Ah! Darn it, came a cry from nearby. Let's check it out, Brock said cautiously. They didn't have to go far as someone practically ran into them. It was someone who was wearing an outfit kind of like Ash, but the hat and clothes were red and styled slightly differently. Oh my god no, I don't want another battle, the guy said as he saw Brock and Misty. What? Misty asked. Oh, you don't want to fight? The guy asked. By the way, would you guys happen to have any repels on hand? I swear this is the last time I enter a dungeon without a few. No, aren't they bad for the environment though? Brock asked. I've heard that repels have been negatively affecting Pokemon in their natural habitats. Yeah, but I kind of hate having to fight them almost all the time, the guy said with a weary sigh. My name's Emil, by the way. Who are you folks? Emily. That's your name? Misty asked. No, Emil, Emil said. Well, I'm Misty, Misty said. Brock said. Oh, you're the pewter gym leader, aren't you? Emil asked. I was going to go fight you but I thought about getting to Cerulean City first. I was, Brock said. But I'm not anymore. Anyway, I've been stuck here forever, Emil said. Seriously, I can't seem to find a way out. Have you seen Team Rocket? Brock asked. You know, people wearing dash. Yeah, a bit too many of them, Emil said. I fought too, they were all going on and on about fossils but all they had were a few Rattata and Zubat so I took care of them easily. Have you seen a friend of ours? Brock asked. He's about your height, kind of reminds me of you really, or a girl around 13. No, Emil said. Why? She was kidnapped, Misty explained. And we've came here to look for her, but one of our, friends decided to go out on his own. Huh, sounds like something I'd do, Emil said. You know, try to take on a crime syndicate by myself even though I'm a 13-year-old. Just then, the entire cave shook. Earthquake. Brock suddenly shouted and released his Onix, which, within a second, had formed a barrier with its body over the three trainers as the roof of the cave shook. Thankfully, Onix had been unnecessary as no stalactites had fallen down. That was no earthquake, Emil said. It lasted only a few seconds. So it was man-made. Team Rocket, both Brock and Misty said. They followed where they thought the explosion had come from, and they found themselves walking along a winding passage until they came upon several Team Rocket members operating a drill that was giving off a low hum as it cut into the rock. There was also some dynamite with them, explaining the explosion that they had felt earlier. Okay, what we need to do is calm down, I don't think they've seen us yet, Misty said. So since they outnumber us, I say that we should quietly sneak up on them and ambush. She never got to finish her sentence as Emil decided that it was a good idea to run ahead and scream, Hey! Rocket morons! Why don't you pick on someone your own size? Mist facepalmed. Well, Ash wasn't here, but it appeared that he had a twin brother from another mother. Misty and Brock joined in on the fight, while Emil sent out a Bulbasaur and Spearow to the fight. There were 9 of the Team Rocket grunts, and as they mainly had Rattata and Zubat, they weren't hard to take down. Except for one who had a Magnemite. No, not a Magnemite. Emil said. Those things are steel types. This is totally ruined. He's very dramatic, isn't he? Brock said. Mist frowned as first her Goldeen and then her Stereo were eventually bogged down and taken out. The Rocket grunts were getting lucky with Supersonic and getting their own Pokemon to attack each other, and that Magnemite seemed to have an advantage against all of their current Pokemon. No, Spearow! Emil shouted as the bird Pokemon fainted. There were still 4 of the grunts with usable Pokemon. Emil finally seemed to realize that this had been a bad idea. However, seemingly from nowhere, a flame came and struck the Magnemite, knocking it out. Not so fast, a girl said as she walked in with a weird fox Pokemon that looked like it was a fire type, and right beside her, was Ash. Froakie. Go! Ash said. With the 2 new trainers joining the battle, the tide turned on the Rocket grunts. As a matter of fact, during the battle, Emil's Bulbasaur evolved into Ivysaur, and Ash's Froakie found itself a Frogadier. This isn't the last you've seen of us, one of them snarled as they were defeated and cornered. He dropped a smoke bomb on the floor, and by the time it cleared, they were long gone. Nice to know we found you guys, Ash said. Misty realized that she did as a matter of fact recognize the girl, it was the one who Ash had been looking for. Whoa, buddy, you sure came in time, Emil said. Thanks for that. You really saved my hide there. No problem, Ash said. But who are you exactly? Emil, aspiring Pokemon Master, Emil said. And you would be? Oh, I'm Serena, Serena said. And this is Ash. Ash watched as the other people began the normal array of introductions when something caught his eye. In the shadows, he saw a silhouette. It looked remarkably like that Gengar he had seen on television once, but Gengar weren't here in Empty Moon. There was a Pokemon, however, that closely resembled a Gengar, or at least its outline did. A Clefairy. Ash waited until the others were examining the machine left by Team Rocket to search for some clues when he turned towards the shadow, which ran away. Stealthily, making sure not to be seen, Ash trailed after it. He felt like he would have liked Emil and would have talked to him and maybe even challenged him to a battle in any other sort of circumstance, but those thoughts were driven from his mind. He did have a mission to complete, after all. Ash followed the Clefairy through all the twists and turns that Empty Moon had for him. He even lost sight of it for a minute before he realized that he had two Pokemon whose sense of smell would be invaluable in this situation, and then Pikachu was leading him away with its nose, which was a good thing considering the fact that the flashlight that Ash had was almost running out by now. As they approached a narrow tunnel, Ash released his Frogadier which hopped over the Clefairy and blocked its exit. Ash stood on the other end of the narrow tunnel, meaning that the Clefairy would have to go through one of them if it wanted to leave. Ash reached for a Pokeball, and to his surprise, his hands were shaking like crazy as he tried to get a grip over one of them. His Pokemon seemed to notice how nervous he was, even if Ash himself didn't. He was sweating even though the cave was a nice and cool place. Ash's fingers trembled when he finally managed to get an empty Pokeball out. Pikachu! Do something, he shouted out, only realizing after he had given the command that it was a stupid one. Thankfully though, even though Ash was having trouble getting a grip on the situation, his Pokemon were in better shape. Even though it was practically cheating, Pikachu and Frogadier basically attacked the Clefairy from both sides, meaning that it was unable to do anything and quickly fainted. Ash threw the Pokeball when he realized what had happened, only to see it miss the Clefairy by a mile. Ash took a deep breath, tried to calm himself down, and then tossed the Pokeball. It was a tense moment, even though it was almost guaranteed that the Pokeball would catch it. The Pokeball eventually stopped shaking and stopped. Ash had never caught a Pokemon before, so it took him a second to realize that this meant that he had succeeded. He let out a sigh of relief. He didn't feel like partying or shouting right now, rather he was just glad the whole ordeal was over with. He picked up the Pokeball and backtracked, and just in time too as his flashlight was about to run out. He found Brock, who had been looking for him. Hey! Where were you? We've been looking all over for you, Brock said. Oh, I thought I saw a rare Pokemon and thought I'd follow it, but it was just a Paras, Ash said. Really Ash, you should have at least told us, Brock said as they headed back towards a section of the cave where Brock had agreed to meet the others, and sure enough Misty and Serena came back. Once Ash was done explaining to them what had happened, or at least, the version he was going to tell them, Serena and Misty both started telling him off for running away like that. Hey, where's the other guy? Ash asked. Oh, Emil? Misty asked. He wasn't here for long and he ran off saying that he was already behind schedule or something like that. Ah, Ash groaned. I would have challenged him to a battle. It was probably good that you didn't, Misty said. I mean, he had an Ivysaur and you just have a water and electric type. You probably would have been beat easy. Well, I'm sure we'll see him again, Brock said. If he's on a Pokemon journey too. Yeah, Ash said. So I guess now that all of that is over, we should be going. As Ash walked along with his friends towards the exit of the cave, it dawned on him that he had never said sorry to Misty for what he had done. He would have preferred to tell her something like that in private, but his mother had always told him that if you messed up in public, it was better to apologize in public too. Hey Misty, Ash said. What? Misty asked. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for earlier, Ash said. I shouldn't have said that. You guys don't slow me down, you've done a lot to help me and I'd also just like to say thank you for all that you've done. It came out a whole lot more awkward than he had planned in his head. It's alright Ash, Misty said. Strangely enough, she didn't sound angry but rather, sad for some reason. Ash had the feeling it wasn't because of something he did, but due to something else. I get it. It's the same thing like when you took my bike for your Pikachu. When you see someone you care about in danger, you go help them and don't bother what anyone else thinks. I guess that's just who you are. And I don't want to hold a grudge, not while we're going to Cerulean City at least. Serena, obviously, wasn't getting a lot of what was happening. What's bad with Cerulean City? It looked great when I visited it. Yeah, I know it's great, Misty said inside, a hint of nostalgia in her voice. Ash didn't press the matter further and guessed that Misty was occupied with something else for the time being, so he instead began asking Serena what life was like back in Kalos. They left the mountain and suddenly came out of Empty Moon. The sun was setting at this point. To think that all of that had happened in less than a day. We should probably tell Officer Jenny about Team Rocket and what we saw inside, Serena said. But we don't know where she is, Brock said. We can tell someone in Cerulean City, Misty said. The police headquarters of Kanto is there, and it'll be easier to get there than trying to go through Empty Moon again. Yeah, Ash said. That's probably a good idea. Let's go a bit further before we make camp. Cerulean City wasn't visible yet as they climbed down the grassy slope, but Ash saw two people dressed up as black belt karate masters, and it was then that he remembered what James had said. Hello there, young trainers, one of them said. We are both karate masters, and after long years of training, we have mastered the techniques of Mega Punch and Mega Kick. Would you like to teach them to your Pokemon? I don't have any Pokemon which can learn that, Serena said. Me neither, Brock and Misty said. I think I might have something, Ash said. Really? Misty asked. Yeah, I'm sure that Pikachu can learn it, Ash said. Look, it's already getting dark, why don't you guys go and make camp? I'll catch up. I don't feel good about splitting up though, Serena said, and Ash realized that his mom had probably told her to keep an eye on him. Don't worry, I'll be fine, Ash reassured her, and once the three of them were out of sight, Jessie and James revealed themselves. This is going to get harder with Serena around, Ash said and handed James the Pokeball. I caught a Clefairy like you asked. Great, James said. But I think it's time we told you. What? Ash asked. We never really needed a Clefairy, Jessie said. We could have caught one anyway, we were really in there hunting for fossils. We told you we needed one because we thought it was the best way you were going to get over your fear. James took the Pokeball anyway. Still, I'm sure that this will make some pet owner pretty happy if we sell it. Unless you want it back. Well, no, Ash. I guess a Clefairy isn't really my style. So I never had a real mission. If that's it, there's a Team Rocket base back in Empty Moon with a lot of info on Team Rocket which you two should get rid of. Clefairy was the first Pokemon that Ash had caught, but he didn't really feel any big attachment to it from that. He guessed it was because he had already gotten Froakie as his second, and he thought it would be better for some rich fussy old lady to have the Clefairy rather than him. We can send a team in a while, James said. And there's some more news we have for you, an actual mission. James took out a Pokeball and handed it to Ash. Now, we've always had trouble working around Cerulean City, Jessie explained. You may have noticed that the police headquarters are located there, so it's hard to get operatives in and out of Cerulean City. But that's not where we want you to be. Just north of Cerulean City, near its small port, there's a house that belongs to a man by the name of Bill. You may have heard of him, he developed the Pokemon PC storage system. That Pokeball contains a Porygon, James said. It's a special type of Pokemon that was very recently made in our labs. Whoa, Ash said. You can create Pokemon? Yes, James said. We developed it for use in cybernetic warfare. It is a Pokemon that can go into a computer system and take all of its data, not to mention that it has no biological needs and would be perfect for space exploration if we ever needed it. So it's extra necessary that no one sees it, Jessie said. We've only just made that Pokemon, so please be careful not to use it in battle. So then what do I do with it? Ash asked. Bill's house, or manor really, is a very exclusive place to the north of the city, James said. We've been unable to get someone into there for that reason, but we think that you can manage it. Get that Porygon near one of the systems and it will be able to enter it by itself. Make sure that you're not seen, that is your mission. What'll it do once it's in the PC storage system? Ash asked. Take the Pokemon stored in there. Oh, gosh no, James said. The Porygon still can't get through powerful firewalls like that, which is why we can't send it through the internet to the Pokemon storage system. There's another firewall inside of the Bill's system too, so the Porygon can't get through that to take the Pokemon in there. Why not just send it through the PC storage system like you would normally then? Ash asked. Because then they'd see it, and we want it to be a secret, Jessie said. And then the Porygon wouldn't be able to move out of the firewall once it was inside, now, would it? Instead, if you send it like we tell you, the Porygon will instead monitor the huge database of information regarding the Pokemon sent to the storage system. The firewalls on that aren't that good. And, if there is any league notification to Bill, which is likely given how much the league depends on him, we'll know. So you're going to use it as a spy, Ash realized. Exactly, James said. But the second problem will be that once Porygon is in the system and has acquired all the information that is on there, it won't be able to send it back to us, thanks to the second firewall surrounding the place. I don't get it, Ash said, confused. How many firewalls are there? Imagine it like this, Jessie said, slightly exasperated. Bill's storage system is like a fortress. There is one firewall outside so no one can get in. And within the first wall there is some space where some records are kept, and there is yet another wall inside the first one which you'd need to get through to remove Pokemon from the system unlawfully. Porygon can't get through either wall, but if you send it in there inside Bill's house, it will be find itself inside the first wall. Okay, Ash said, getting part of it now. So you need to come back to Bill's house after one day, James said. To get the Porygon out and give it back to us, we'll try finding a way to get to you in Cerulean City, but as we've said before it might be tough so we might meet you someplace else. Right, Ash said. I think I've got most of it, but where's Meowth by the way? Oh that, Jessie said, he's going to collect the fossils we were talking about. Isn't that risky? Ash asked. Officer Jenny's probably combing through the place right now. Well, no one really suspects a Pokemon, after all, James said. So he can always pretend to just be some wandering Pokemon. Got it, Ash said. Anything else? No, Jessie said. Got to get going then, Ash said and then sped onward towards where he guessed his friends would be. Ash found them with camp set up and Brock already making something that smelled amazing. How was it? Brock asked. What? Ash asked. The moves, Misty said as if that should have been obvious. Did your Pikachu get to know Mega Punch or Mega Kick? No, it would have taken a few days for Pikachu to learn it so I left, Ash said. And they weren't very good moves anyway. The next morning all four of them got up bright and early to set off for Cerulean City. I want to go to the north of the city, Ash said. I heard that there's some, rare Pokemon there. I need to go to the south of the city, Brock said. I heard there's a Pokemon daycare there which is great if I want to learn to be a breeder. We need to go to the police headquarters first, Misty said. Huh, what happened to that sign? Serena asked. There was a sign that originally said, "You are now approaching Cerulean City," but had been vandalized so that it now read, "Gary was here." Ash is a loser. I can't believe that JRK. Ash shouted. I'm not sure who this Gary person is, Serena said. But he really should have paid more attention in school. Ash frowned. What do you mean? Don't you get it? Misty asked. The spellings are wrong. Really? Ash asked. Are they? The other 3 members of his party looked at Ash, shocked. Yes, Brock asked. Didn't you learn anything in school? Oh, there was no real school in Pallet Town, Ash said. I just sat at home most of the time. I'm guessing Gary probably didn't go anywhere either, even though his grandfather is Professor Oak. But, you know how to read, right? Misty asked incredulously. I mean, doesn't the league say that basic education is compulsory for everyone up till the age of 12? They do, but Pallet Town's accepted for some reason. And yeah, I know my name and stuff, but I've never been much of a reader anyway, Ash said. I learned most of what I know from Sesame Street. Misty laughed. You still watch Sesame Street? Ash, you know that's a show for kids, right? Really? Ash asked. Well, I mean it was educational, so Mom made me watch it, but that was about it. Misty shook her head. Once the laughter wore off, she seemed to turn far more somber. Come on, we have to get to Cerulean City. Right, Ash said. Along the way, Ash encountered several more wild Pokémon, and he felt a lot more confident this time on his ability to catch one. The thing was, however, that he suddenly found himself being far more picky on which one he was going to raise. It was a bit surprising, but the thing was that as he already had Frogadier and Pikachu, Ash didn't really see the need for now to add a new member to the party. It would just seem to get in the way of training Frogadier and Pikachu, both of whom he was getting very attached to. He'd find some more Pokémon, but would only catch one if he felt like it would make a good addition to his team. They reached Cerulean City, and Ash was still without a new Pokémon save for his Porygon, but that didn't really count since he couldn't use it. It was late when they finally reached the Pokémon Center, so Ash wanted to call it a day, but Misty was pretty adamant that they go to the police headquarters first thing before they went to bed to tell them about Team Rocket. Ah, come on Misty, Ash said, waving her aside. I'm sure we can tell them all about it in the morning. Plus, the police all probably want to go home at this time, why bother them right now? That is the lamest excuse I've ever heard. Misty shouted back in response. Come on now. We have a civic duty to inform Team Rocket and blah blah. Ash's mind zoned out the rest of Misty's words, not because they were boring, though they were incidentally, and he wouldn't have bothered listening to them anyway, but because he was thinking of what story to tell the police department. After all, they were bound to cross-question him multiple times, and while it was one thing telling something to a single officer, it was another thing to be questioned by a whole department. Ash wasn't sure if he could keep his story straight under that kind of pressure. And we need to inform them as soon as possible so they can finally, are you even listening to what I'm saying, Ash? Misty asked. Thing is Misty, I don't feel that alright, so maybe I'll stay back while you AGH. Okay, I'll go, just let go of my ear. Misty dragged Ash towards the police headquarters with Brock and Serena following behind her. Several people gave them odd looks which Misty ignored. It turned out that Ash had definitely been right about one thing, the police headquarters were about to be closed. People were packing up and moving out for the day, and Misty was told at the reception that if they didn't have an emergency they'd have to wait for tomorrow, but then when she looked at Misty closely she let her in for some reason, and to see the chief of all people. They were told to wait for 5 minutes, and Ash was sweating like crazy. Ash, are you alright? Serena asked, worried. She had considered that Ash was just faking it, but it looked like he had some real symptoms. Yeah, Ash said. His throat felt as dry as sandpaper, and he kept wondering what it was that he should say. You don't look like it, Serena said and checked Ash's head for a fever. What are you, his mom? Misty snapped. He said he's alright, believe him. Well, excuse me, Serena said. Just because apparently feeling sympathy for other people is something you can't do dash. Hey there, wait up dash, Misty said. Before they could continue, Officer Jenny, or at least the police chief Officer Jenny, walked out of the office. Is there something you wanted to tell me? The police chief asked. Thankfully Ash didn't even have to say much since Misty, Serena, and Brock did most of the talking. Ash only put a word in, and Officer Jenny seemed to strangely fixate on the fact that Serena was from Kalos and seemed to Ash her more than anyone else, but otherwise Ash managed to get through without completely exposing himself for what he was. Officer Jenny thanked them and said that she'd make sure that they'd get some sort of recognition for what they'd done. Misty said it was unnecessary, but they got their photos taken anyway. Ash guessed it fit in with the whole regarding what Giovanni wanted him to do. Ash really was tired though, and he guessed that the others were too since they all fell asleep nearly instantly after dinner. The next morning they all got up and after some brief discussion Ash decided that he was going to tackle the Cerulean City gym first. Sure, he had stuff to do for Team Rocket, but it had been so long since he'd last had a battle. Brock, for some reason, said that he had to go somewhere else. But where though? Ash asked for the third time. I just need to do something. Brock muttered. That was weird, Misty said. Yeah, Ash said. It's almost as if he was secretly working for Team Rocket and he's going to meet with them. Not a funny joke, Ash, Misty said. So, do you know where the Cerulean City gym is? Ash asked once they were outside and done with breakfast. Sure I do, Serena and Misty said at the same time and then quickly glared at each other. Ash was missing Brock as he realized that this meant that he was stuck with Serena and Misty, both of whom were coldly ignoring each other since the incident yesterday, only Ash hadn't noticed until Brock was gone and now they only had each other and Ash to talk to. As such, the walk towards the gym was a quiet one punctuated only by Misty and Serena telling Ash little nothings like, that cloud looks like a Psyduck, doesn't it? Wow, there are a lot of people here, Ash suddenly said as he saw the crowd around the Cerulean City gym. They must have a lot of challengers. Not exactly, Misty said. What does that mean? Ash asked. You'll see, Misty said. The three of them pushed themselves to the front of the crowd where they saw a sort of water show. There were three rather pretty ladies in swimwear who were playing trick in the water with water-type Pokemon like Dugong. The three of them were introduced as Daisy, Violet, and Lily. The crowd cheered, though honestly Ash thought it was boring. It was the sort of thing that he might have liked back when he was 8, but he noticed a bunch of adults were there so he guessed they were there just to ogle at the performers, but Serena seemed to be pretty interested in the show, so maybe it was just him. Once it was over, Ash asked someone, wait a minute, what about battles? Battles? Huh. I don't know anything about that man, someone said. Misty sighed. Come on Ash, you'll have to meet with them if you want your badge, but you probably won't end up getting a battle. Ash followed Misty, all the while wondering what she had meant by that. The three girls were chatting with each other when Misty stopped short of them and stayed behind a wall so she couldn't be seen. She motioned towards Ash to continue. This all seemed very weird to Ash, but he decided to go ahead anyway with Serena trailing behind him and said. I'm here for a gym battle. Ash declared. Violet turned to him and said, well, we don't actually battle here at the Pokemon gym, if you want the Cascade badge, well, we usually give it in exchange of a few favors. She winked slyly at the last word. Just what kind of favors are you talking about? Serena asked rather angrily. Oh, to fetch groceries from the market, to clean the pool, that sort of thing, Lily said. Oh, Serena said and seemed quite less angry. But wait Ash said. How can you just give the badge away without even putting up a fight? Oh, league rules say that we can, Daisy explained. It isn't necessary for a challenger to win in order to receive a badge. Any gym leader can offer a badge in recognition of a trainer's talents. There was a trainer by the name of Gary a few days ago, he gave a small donation to the Cerulean City gym's efforts to support wild water Pokemon, and we gave him a badge for that. So you still haven't changed, Misty said as she appeared from behind the wall. And you're going to keep on like this? You guys have gotten worse since the last time I was with you, you're accepting bribes now. Oh, Misty, Lily said, ignoring Misty's question entirely. You finally decided to come back. And you're still handing out the Cascade badge like breadcrumbs. Misty shouted. When Dad left us this gym, he wanted all of us to run it properly, not turn it into an aquarium. What's going on? Serena asked, thoroughly confused, along with Ash. What's going on is that these three, the sensational sisters, are my big sisters, Misty said. When our dad passed away, he told us to take care of the gym for him. And that meant actually battling challengers and not pawning off the gym's scrub work in exchange for the badge. The sisters yawned. If you think you can do better, well, you can challenge him if you want. You're a gym leader too. I'll do it, Misty said. Ash, if you want your gym badge, you're going to have to beat me to get it. This should be interesting, Daisy said with a smirk. I still don't get what's happening here, Ash admitted. Are you telling me that you somehow inherited your gym leader position? And that it's possible for 4 people to be a gym leader at once? And that the league lets you sell badges? Stop with the questions, Ash, Misty said. She flicked a button and 2 platforms appeared in the swimming pool and the electronic monitor began working as it should have. You and I are going to battle, do you get that? Why yeah, Ash said and then motioned to Pikachu. Well, if this was what he was going to have to get through, well, he wasn't about to hesitate. Misty sent out a Starmie. I haven't seen that before, Ash said. I used it back in Empty Moon. Is your head always in the clouds? Misty asked. Ash opened up his Pokédex which said, Starmie, its unusual body shape, reminiscent of abstract art, led local people to believe that this Pokémon is an invader from space. That's odd, Ash said. He privately wondered if almost all the Pokémon he encountered were related to space somehow. Well, Pikachu, you're up. Pikachu however, gave a small squeak and shook its head. What's the matter? Ash asked. Pikachu. Come on. Don't let me down on this. Pikachu motioned towards Misty and made an odd motion. It was then that it hit Ash. You don't want to fight with Misty? Ash asked. Pikachu said in affirmation. Hey Ash, you can borrow my Fennekin for the fight if you want, Serena said. No thanks, I'll get Pikachu to fight, Ash said. Pikachu though stubbornly refused to move from his place. Ash ground his teeth in frustration, a Pokémon wasn't listening to him during an important battle. He hoped this would be the last time something like this would happen. It's alright Pikachu, Misty said, with the same sad expression and voice that Ash had heard earlier when they had left Empty Moon. I want to have a battle, a real battle. I want you and Ash to give it your all. Yeah, Ash said. We won't hurt them badly or nothing, it's just a fun match. Pikachu said and reluctantly got on one platform. Let's have a 2 versus 2, Misty said. Because you don't have another Pokémon anyway. Yeah that's where your WR, right, Ash said, correcting himself at the last moment so that he didn't reveal the Porygon in his pocket. It was clear that Pikachu was still holding back, but even with that the type advantage was so great that Pikachu took out Misty's Starmie without taking any significant damage. Misty growled. Go. Goldeen. Goldeen didn't last much longer, and with that Ash had won. It was a bit of an anticlimactic victory, something that Misty's elder sisters didn't waste an opportunity to rub into Misty's face. Wow, thanks for the lesson in battling sis, we totally needed it, Violet said sarcastically. We're going to prepare for our next show, do us a favor and clean up the pool by the time we get back. Ciao. I'm not your servant. Misty shouted at them as they walked out of the gym. Misty sighed and then walked over to a small bench, underneath which there was a stash of badges. Here, you've earned this. That was a great fight, Ash said, unsure of what else to say. You don't need to sugarcoat it, Misty said. I know I have a lot to work on. She let out a big sigh. I'm not disappointed, I just sort of wanted for our last battle to be more memorable. Don't you mean our first battle? Ash asked, confused. Misty shook her head. Ash, there's something that I haven't told you. I wasn't just hanging around randomly before I first met you. I'm the youngest sister, but I was the only one that seems to care about running the gym. I'm not kidding when I say that those three would prefer being off working as models rather than doing this. I don't even know why they bother sticking around, and I was always telling them to get their act together. But they still treated me like a runt, so I decided to go outside for a bit to get stronger so I could prove myself. I was just planning on finishing and coming back when a certain trainer had to go and steal my bicycle. Pika Pie Pie. Pikachu said. Ash realized what was happening. Wait a minute, you're not coming with us anymore. Misty shook her head. There was an odd sort of melancholy in her eyes which shimmered just like the ocean. How odd it was that Ash had never noticed that before. I think I can do much better here in this gym rather than just roaming round the countryside. But what about that bike? Ash said. Oh, I haven't forgotten about it, Misty said. But I know I don't need to follow you around to make sure that you'll pay me back for it anymore. I know what kind of person you are, and you wouldn't just let it go. You're really leaving? Serena asked. Though they had fought and hadn't been on speaking terms just a few minutes ago, Ash could tell that Serena was still surprised and not happy at all that Misty wasn't coming with them. Well, I'm not technically leaving, am I? Misty said. I mean, you guys are. I'm staying here at the gym. Good luck, Ash, I'm sure you'll get ahead in life. Pikachu looked close to tears and glanced up at his trainer, begging him to do something, to say something to make Misty stay. But all Ash said was, good luck to you too, Misty. They shook hands, and Serena and Misty hugged, and then Misty ran off to follow her sisters. Ash knew that Pikachu was glaring daggers at him. Once he was sure that Misty was gone, he turned to his companion. I know, Pikachu, I didn't want her to go either. But what was I gonna say? If it's Misty's dream to lead the gym, it would be stupid and selfish if I asked her to stay with us. Pikachu's expression softened and followed his trainer outside. Ash and Serena then roamed around the city, mostly aimlessly for a couple of minutes. It amazed Ash at how quickly Misty had suddenly vanished, and also at how big a hole such a short friendship had created. He had only known her for little over a week, and yet for some reason he somehow always saw her in plans for the future by his side as his Pokemon journey would progress, even though she had only tagged along because of what he had done to her bicycle. No wonder Misty had let him off easily for what he had done back in Empty Moon. She didn't want their last memories to be bitter ones. It would be hard, but Ash knew that he would get over Misty leaving. Surprisingly, he felt no elation at having won the Cascade badge, due to what it had cost him. Hey Ash, that was a brave thing you did back there, Serena said. Letting Misty go off like that. I could tell you two were friends, even though you couldn't stop fighting with each other. But don't you think that just maybe, she also might have wanted to stay with us? At least for a while. If you would have just asked, maybe she'd have changed her mind. Maybe, Ash said. Or maybe it wouldn't have made a difference. I can't read people's minds. Suddenly, Serena perked up. Hey Ash, with Misty gone and Brock away, that means it's just us for now. Wanna dash? Oh yeah, what's Brock doing right now? Ash asked, interrupting Serena. Meanwhile, with Brock. Oh, I hope no one saw me, Brock said to himself as he stealthily worked his way to a part of Cerulean City, a part where something he'd wanted to see for a long time was going on. The thing was that Jigglypuff the Explorer, that's right, based on the hit show for 5-year-olds, was doing a live concert in Cerulean City. Despite being nearly 16, Brock was a huge fan, and had normally been able to watch it as an excuse whenever his siblings did. But now, he had no such excuses, so he had to be sure to be quiet. The show was just starting, and Brock tried making himself scare. As expected, there were only small kids there and their parents, but Brock was rather inconspicuous thankfully. Brock watched with bated breath as Jigglypuff the Explorer, with her talking backpack named Backpack and a Mankey named Boots, walked onto the stage and cheered. Ash soon forgot about Misty. It had been a very long time since he had talked with Serena, and they spent the evening touring the various shops. It was weird, he thought that he knew Serena and recognized her, and at the same time she seemed to be quite a different person than what he remembered, as if he was talking to a total stranger. Brock met up with them in the evening near the Pokemon Center. He looked pretty elated, but wouldn't say where he'd been or why he looked so thoroughly euphoric. He took the news that Misty had left, or rather, stayed behind comparatively well, shrugging and saying that it was really her choice in the end. The next morning, now that Ash had the Cascade badge, he decided that it was time for him to head towards Bill's house to get his Team Rocket mission done. "Why do you want to go north of the city again?" Brock asked wearily. Ash had woken all of them up early and the sun had come up just a few minutes ago. "I heard there are good Pokemon there, and I wanted to go see." "Bill," Ash said. "Bill?" Brock asked. "Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to meet him. He, made the PC storage system and all that," Ash said. "Doesn't sound like something you'd be interested in," Serena said. "Really, Ash Ketchum of all people for some reason wanted to meet Bill?" "Yeah, but I am," Ash said. "But Ash, they don't let people into his manor," Serena said. "I saw it on my way, it's locked like a military bunker." "Really?" Ash said. He remembered that Jesse and James had said that it would be hard to get in, he was going to have to think of something to do. "Well, I'll think of something, until then I'll look for another member for my team." Ash didn't find anyone, though Serena caught an oddish. The only Pokemon that Ash felt was worth catching was an Abra, but it teleported away the moment that Ash approached it. Ash had given up on finding anything good when he saw something that he didn't believe at first. Lying on a rock, in the middle of a huge plain, was a Pokemon that Ash had seen several times before. Was it a wild one? Ash got closer to realize that he wasn't wrong. It was a small orange reptile with a flaming tail, a Charmander. "Ah yeah!" Ash shouted. "What happened?" Brock asked. "I've always wanted a Charmander," Ash said. "I was gonna choose it as my starter but they ran out." "Aren't they hard to train?" Serena asked. "Yeah, but think about getting a Charizard," Ash said, completely fanboying over the idea. Serena chuckled. He had heard the stereotype that all boys wanted a Charizard, but didn't know that it also applied to Ash. "I mean, dragon types are cool too," Ash said. "But the thing is that they're even harder to train, and with fairy types around they aren't really as strong as they used to be. But a Charizard is just great. I mean, think about its wings and jaws, and it can even mega evolve, and it's just so cool." Ash stopped his monologue and decided to get on to business, and chucked a pokeball at the lizard. Charmander flicked the pokeball away. Ash tried 4 times again and failed at the endeavor. "It looks pretty weak," Ash said, noticing that the Charmander wasn't moving, and it seemed a whole lot smaller than he thought a normal one would. He wasn't sure about that since he had never seen one except on television, but it did look very small. Pikachu hopped over to the Charmander, and they exchanged a few words. Pikachu then shook his head at Ash. Pikachu made a few hand motions. "Oh, it's waiting for someone," Ash realized. "Well, let's be on then," Ash said as they turned around from the Charmander, and he sent a glance backwards, wondering what was up with the Pokemon. When Serena had told Ash that Bill's house was locked up like a military bunker, he had assumed it was an exaggeration. Instead it looked like one of those places, you know, those places that people in heist films would describe as being impossible to break into, but would still get into anyway because it was a movie. Ash, however, knew that he wasn't in a movie and he had no chance of trying to get inside the place and placing the Porygon near the servers by underhanded means. No wonder that Team Rocket hadn't tried to sneak in before. The place was literally carved into the side of a cliff, and there was only a single, narrow trail that led up to the place. Trying to get in through the air would be difficult as the place was situated in a pocket in the rock that was not carved very high, meaning any helicopter would have trouble maneuvering properly. There was a 10-foot tall wall surrounding the place, and given that it belonged to Bill, it was probably swarming with all sorts of traps that he had designed himself and had patents pending. Ash and his friends had made the long and steep trek towards the gate, but Serena and Brock had repeatedly reminded him that it was highly unlikely that Bill would let them in. Ash buzzed the intercom several times, and nothing happened. "I think we should go back, Ash," Brock said. "This guy clearly doesn't like visitors." Just then, there was the sound of glass breaking which came from inside the compound, and there was a shout, "Help! Help me! Somebody!" There was something weird about that voice, Ash thought. It sounded morphed, as if whoever was saying it was being choked. "Well, we've gotta go see what that's about," Ash said, and then climbed over the gate. "Ash!" Brock warned. As soon as Ash and his Pikachu landed on the ground, sirens began whirring and red lights began flashing. The door to the house inside shut itself and shutters dropped down from each of the windows. Unknown to Ash, a call had been made to a nearby outpost of the Cerulean City Police Department, and officers would be there within 10 minutes. Ash took a look around. The place was moderately nice looking, but clearly Bill had security as the main thing in mind when he built it. Ash saw shards of broken glass, and his Pikachu pointed him towards a small, pink blob that was lying down on the ground. "That's a Pokemon," Ash said as he approached it. "I'm not Pokemon," the same weird voice he had heard earlier said. The Pokemon then got up. "What in dash?" Ash shouted out, his voice nearly drowning out the sirens. The Pokemon was clearly supposed to be a Clefairy, except for the fact that it wasn't one. It had brown hair, and weird human-like features. "Don't be alarmed, please," it said. "My name is Bill. Thank you for coming." "A talking Pokemon!" Ash exclaimed. And here he thought that Meowth was the only one. No, Bill said. "I was doing some research on transmitting humans like we do Pokemon as a form of teleportation, but the problem is that my Clefairy suddenly came in and messed with the system, so that now it fused us together somehow. I need a human to go fix the machine and return me back to normal." "Really?" Ash asked and blinked twice. It was the sort of stupid stuff you might hear about in a video game, but he couldn't think of an alternative explanation for it. "Yeah, you need to disable this alarm and get the machine back working," Bill said. Bill told Ash the codes he needed to punch in to open the gate, disable the alarms, and tell the Cerulean City Police Department that they were fine. As such, Brock and Serena walked in, and Serena overreacted to seeing Bill. Namely, she shrieked loudly when she saw what she took for a mutant Clefairy and kicked it right in the face. It took Ash several minutes to calm her down and explain to her what had happened. "Sorry," Serena said, profusely apologizing to Bill. "No problem," Bill said, using the back of his hand, paw, to wipe away the blood streaming out of his nose. "Let's just get back to my house and get this over with." As Ash expected, the inside of the house was crawling with cameras, small robots, big robots, and there was a Pokemon that he didn't recognize that hovered about. Ash could only guess that all of this would have cost a pretty penny, but from what he knew about Bill, he guessed that he was rich enough to afford it. Plus, the Pokemon probably funded him given the importance of the Pokemon storage system. "This is the machine, you guys," Bill said. Ash took a glance at it. It was essentially two different cylinders, big enough for a person to get into, which were connected with a large pipe that joined the tops of the two. "Now just press that switch," Bill said, and walked into one of the cylinders. Ash pressed a switch. There were some flashing lights and something seemed to move in the huge pipe on top. Finally there was a ping. And the door opened to reveal Bill on one side and a normal regular Clefairy on the other. This created a nice, relaxing atmosphere until Ash destroyed it in about 2 seconds by asking Bill, "Why aren't you naked?" "Ash!" Serena shouted, blushing. "Beg pardon?" Bill asked, confused. "No, I mean, where did your clothes come from?" Ash asked. "You weren't wearing any as a Pokemon and there weren't any in the machine, so." "Oh, see, the extra mass of my Clefairy and I kind of went to some sort of limbo in the machine, kind of how a Pokemon's mass fits into a Pokeball, so all the extra went there, though now that you mention it I guess it is a bit of a slide of luck that I managed to get them all back properly," Bill said. "Would have been kind of embarrassing if it didn't." Well, nice to meet you, Ash said, extending his hand and oblivious to the awkward atmosphere that he had created. I'm a big fan of your work. Oh, thanks, Bill said. And thanks big time, by the way, for helping me out like that. What happened? Brock asked. Just how did you, well, you know. Oh, long story, I was trying to teleport myself but my Clefairy went ahead and got into the other chamber and I'm not sure how or why it happened after that, Bill said. It was clear that Bill wasn't very good at conversation or at entertaining guests. Ash figured that he probably hadn't had a visitor in the last couple of months or so. As Bill was away preparing something for them to eat, against their protests, of course, Ash found a few moments alone to release the Porygon. He released it, and after he made sure that no had seen, he looked back and saw that it was gone. Now the only problem was how he'd go back to the house a day later, but he hatched a plan soon enough. He took out his Pokédex, and while all of them were chatting, Ash left in on the sofa. He'd just come back again later on, he figured, and tell Bill that he must have forgotten his Pokédex there. Bill made some small talk but it was mostly forced, not to mention that when asked what he was doing, he replied with, well, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. It was meant as a joke, but not a very good one. Bill offered them to stay for a while longer and even the night, but Ash said that they needed to get going. Why though? Serena asked. It seemed odd to her, really odd, that for one, Ash wanted to come here in the first place, and secondly that he just wanted to leave so suddenly now when he had a chance to meet Bill in person. I bet we can find more Pokemon further in on the route, plus Bill looks busy. I mean, we wouldn't want to bother him too much, Ash said. Oh, it's nothing, Bill said. Then again, I do have a report to fill on getting our system in sync with the Seviai Islands, and then Lynette called since she wanted some help with a glitch happening in the Hoenn servers and dash. Yeah, don't worry, we have to get going anyway, Brock said. Sooner we leave, not that this place isn't amazing, but the faster we can go visit the daycare to the south of the city. They left, and Ash considered going back to Cerulean City. His job here was done, after all, but then he remembered that he'd have to go back to Bill's house which would take far too long if they went towards the south of Cerulean City. So, they kept on moving east from Bill's house to the coast where there was a Pokemon Center where they'd planned stay the night and explore the surrounding area before they'd go back towards Cerulean City the next day. Ash met several trainers on the way, who were mostly defeated easily, stroking his ego a bit too much for Brock's liking. Evening approached. Hey, Serena, you were here before when you came by the ferry, right? Ash said. Know all about it then? Nah, I kind of rushed over and didn't bother sightseeing, Serena said. There wasn't really much for sightseeing though, just the ocean which was cool for about 10 seconds before Ash got bored of it. The Pokemon Center was mostly empty except for a group of teenagers who were a few years older than Ash sitting in one corner chatting away and a couple of other patrons. Ash yawned. He was about to go and hit the hay when his Pikachu seemed to absolutely go berserk near the trainers and started yapping. Hey, is this your Pikachu? A guy asked. He had light blue hair and was wearing goggles. Yeah, Ash said. Sorry, I don't know what's gotten into him. Pikachu, back. Pikachu didn't stop though and continued on yapping and then morphed his face to look sort of like a Charmander. Huh, what are you trying to say? Ash asked. Pikachu then pointed to the guy. Ash then got an idea. Hey, do you happen to know a Charmander by any chance? One that was left on a rock not far from here. Oh, is that thing still there? The guy asked and chuckled. Ash got a better look at the guy. He was wearing an expensive leather jacket and he had a small case that was filled with tiny Pokeball in front of him. I was sure that it would have left by now. So that was your Charmander, Ash said. Why'd you leave it? It was the runt of the litter, that's why, the guy answered. He then took out a Pokeball and from it released a Charmander, only that before it came out it sparkled in the light and it was coal black for some reason. Now that Ash had a good look at what a supposedly normal Charmander was supposed to look like, he realized that there was no doubt about it, the one he had seen earlier was small for a normal one. Is that a shiny Pokemon? Brock asked. What's a shiny? Ash asked. The guy said, "Pfft, amateurs. A shiny Pokemon is a rare Pokemon that has a different color, namely this Charmander that's black. You won't believe how many eggs I had to hatch before I managed to hatch this rare gem. A Charizard looks amazing no doubt, but just imagine a Charizard that is as dark as the night itself, dousing everything around it with sapphire flames." The guy gushed over his Charmander like a lady would over her new engagement ring, and he talked about it so loudly that Nurse Joy and a guy playing ping pong with a Kadabra nearby stopped to listen. I had a lot of normal ones though, so what I did next then was sell them off, but I couldn't find a buyer for that one. You sold them? Serena asked, shocked. Yeah, the league paid a nice sum for all of them, and the rest I gave out to private collectors, anyone willing to pay a price, the guy said with a shrug. Only thing is no one wanted the last one, and it just wouldn't stop following me for some reason. I got no time to waste on a weak Pokemon, so I finally just told it to wait for me on that rock and waltzed all the way here. Ash suddenly grabbed the guy by his collar and tried his best to look intimidating even though the guy towered above him by at least 1.5 feet. Whoa! Let go of the jacket, man, you don't know how expensive it is, the guy said as his group of pals got up to support him. Well then, let's settle it with a battle, Ash said, taking out a Pokeball. Huh, you really think you can stand up to Damien? One of the guys said. Damien here's a Pokemon League veteran, he managed to get all 8 badges times up till now. What have you done, twerp? Oh yeah, this may be my first time on a journey, but I've already won more battles than I can count. Ash retorted. His Pikachu joined him in staring Damien down and looked ready to unleash a thunderbolt on Damien. Damien snorted. Something tells me that's not a really high number. Yeah well Ash said before he was interrupted as Nurse Joy intervened between them. Stop this right this instant, Nurse Joy said. You cannot possibly battle Pokemon for personal reasons, it is degrading and demeaning towards the Pokemon to be used in such a way. Yes, of course, you're right, Brock said suddenly and grabbed Ash and started dragging him away. Don't worry Nurse Joy, I'll take care of this miscreant for you right away. Hey! I'm not the bad guy here. Ash said as he tried to break free from Brock's surprisingly hard grip. 5 minutes later, Ash was stewing in a corner of the Pokemon Center. There had been no fight, but Ash was still practically fuming. It'll be alright, Ash, Serena said. I don't get it though, Ash said. How does he just leave a Pokemon like that? And just why is a black Charmander so special? For once he was missing Misty, she would have agreed with him, not that Serena and Brock didn't, but she'd probably have also agreed to fight Damien and the others too instead of backing off. I've heard that they're rare, Brock said. I once heard a story about someone who caught a shiny Bidoof of all Pokemon and was able to trade it for a Dragonite. I guess since they're rare people like them even if it doesn't make much of a difference in battle or otherwise. Ash took a glance at a nearby phone and got up. Where are you going? Serena asked. Nothing, just thought I'd call my mom, Ash said. If there was someone who Ash needed to talk to right now, it was his mother. The call connected within a minute and Delia Ketchum walked in and immediately looked furious upon seeing Ash. Ash Ketchum, she said. How long has it been since you last called? She then picked up a nearby newspaper. It says here that you were in Empty Moon fighting Team Rocket. Why do I have to get this stuff from the Cerulean City daily instead of from my own son's mouth? Ash immediately began perspiring. Sorry mom, it's just that I was so caught up in the heat of the moment. Heat of the moment, she asked. I let you out on this journey, but that doesn't mean that you can get away with not telling me anything important. I didn't change your diapers for 3 whole years for you to end up like this. Look at Gary. He gives his grandfather daily updates. Or are you too? Ash turned the volume way down, he did not want anyone else in the Pokemon Center to hear him getting roasted and hoped none of them had heard the diaper comment. Ash apologized profusely until his mother calmed down and promised to call more often. He didn't even get to tell her about Damien in all the mess. He did however feel a bit of calm, though he couldn't help but throw around ugly glances at Damien and his group every now and then. Pretty soon it was time to hit the hay. Ash intended to go further east towards the seashore before turning back to Cerulean City, so they'd all have to get up early. It was as Ash was adrift in dreamland that he felt something shake him. He opened his eyes wearily and saw that it was raining outside in a nice, slow drizzle, and it was cold, all things that made snuggling up in his blanket one of the best feelings in the entire world. He felt like he could stay like that forever. He drifted off back to sleep before something shook him again. Ash got up to see his Pikachu had just woken him up. "What's up, buddy?" Ash asked. Pikachu hopped over to the window where it was raining and lied down on his belly. It took a second for Ash to realize what Pikachu was trying to tell him. "Charmander?" Ash asked. He then remembered something he had heard about Charmander, namely that they needed the flame on their tails to live. Would that Charmander that was left all alone be able to sustain its flame? "I know, but I'm sure it'll be alright," Ash said and went back to sleep but kept fidgeting as he imagined what that Pokemon was feeling like. Suddenly, he got up, and taking care not wake up Brock, he left the room and entered the lobby of the Pokemon Center. He told his Pikachu to stay behind since it wouldn't like being in a Pokeball, and Ash wanted to be as fast as possible, so he only took his Frogadier. He didn't need the extra weight weighing him down. Nurse Joy was asleep at the counter and Ash tried to leave, but the door was locked. He hadn't wanted to wake up Nurse Joy, but he realized that he'd have to give it a go. "Nurse Joy?" Ash asked once softly and then repeated it. Nurse Joy said. She opened her eyes to reveal that they were bloodshot with bags under them. Clearly being a nurse was a hectic job that allowed little time for rest or sleep. "There's a Pokemon in trouble," Ash said, and told her everything about the Charmander. He wasn't really sure that Nurse Joy understood though, as she handed him the keys and went back to nodding off with a "Sure, why not?" The rain was only a mild drizzle but got intense as Ash struggled to find the place where the Charmander had been. He was drenched in a matter of minutes as he saw Bill's house and knew that he was going the right way. Ash almost missed Charmander at first as its flame was nearly extinguished and hardly visible in the black as ink night. It had somehow had the foresight to prop up a leaf as a makeshift umbrella over its flame, but it was not going to last long. The Pokemon was hardly conscious as Ash reached for it, but apparently it could still tell that Ash wasn't Damien as it resisted Ash's attempts to move it from the rock, and when Ash began applying a bit too much force after trying soothing it with his voice failed, it chomped down on Ash's arm. Ash took a moment to take in the fact that specks of red were being washed off his arm by the rain. It hurt, and like any hurt creature Ash's first instinct was to retaliate in kind. But instead he scooped up the Charmander, who seemed to be too weak to resist any further, and whispered gently to it, "It's alright if you don't trust me. It's okay, I'm not mad that you hurt me. Because I know why you did it. And you don't need to worry, because no matter how much you ever hurt me later on, I'll always continue to care for you. Always. That's a promise." Ash didn't put the Pokemon in a Pokeball. No, he wasn't here to catch Charmander, and that seemed underhanded. He took off his jacket and used it to protect Charmander from the rain and headed back on the long journey towards the Pokemon Center. With Ash's luck, it stopped raining just 10 minutes before he got to the Pokemon Center instead of a few hours ago. The sky was beginning to lighten, the sun would be up now soon. The only thing that worried Ash was whether or not he'd be in time to rescue Charmander. Outside the Pokemon Center, he saw that Brock and Serena were already waiting for him. "Ash!" Serena called out. "Why'd you go and run off all alone like that?" "I'll explain later," Ash said, running to go and hand over Charmander to Nurse Joy. "Wait up," Brock said. Ash saw Nurse Joy at the counter and proceeded to hand over Charmander while Serena continued to tell him how irresponsible he'd been. "You know, you could have just woken us up and we would have come with you," Serena said. "It's dangerous to go out in the middle of the night alone. You didn't even take Pikachu along, and eventually it woke me up and then I woke Brock up." "Why did he wake you up first?" Ash asked. You were sleeping in a different room. Wouldn't it have been easier to wake up Brock? He was sleeping like a rock, so he came to me, Serena said. And that's besides the point. You're soaked, Ash. Was it too much to take an umbrella? You could have pneumonia by now or dash. I couldn't wait, I wasn't sure if I would get there in time, Ash said as he watched Nurse Joy examine the Charmander. She has a point, Ash, Brock said. It's always dangerous to go and wander around the wilderness on your own. And that's disregarding that you've gone and went into Team Rocket's bad books by now, and that's enough to make you a target. Ash took a deep breath. He hadn't noticed it up till now, but he was feeling extremely cold. And while Ash assumed it was normal for Serena to fret over things, it was literally why his mother had asked her to tag along in the first place. Brock was usually more cool-headed. If he was worried, Ash thought it probably meant that he probably had been out of line, at least a bit. I'll have to rush this Charmander to the ICU, Nurse Joy said. Is this your Pokemon? How could you be so irresp-? It isn't mine, Damien left it on a rock, Ash said before Nurse Joy could go on a tirade against the wrong person. Your friends are right though, Nurse Joy said before carting Charmander off for one of the Chanseys to handle. It's always safer to be with someone else, especially with Team Rocket growing bolder day by day. Didn't you hear about that kid, Brian Sanders, a few years ago? Yeah, he got hurt real bad, Ash said. It was the kid who had gotten into an accident in the wilderness so long ago and caused the Pokemon League to raise the starting age on when a trainer could begin a journey from 10 to 13. Ash guessed by now, with everyone saying the same thing, that he just might have been a bit too rash, but at least he had told someone where he was going. They'd have come to find him, though admittedly it could have taken quite some time for them to reach him. And normally he'd be comforted by the fact that Jesse and James would be looking after him, but they had said that they'd be forced to keep their distance from Cerulean City. With Charmander gone and wheeled off for the ICU, Ash suddenly realized how tired, wet, cold, and hungry he was, and after a quick change of clothes he fell asleep and woke up after what seemed like forever. A quick meal was all he needed before he found Serena and Brock battling outside and was about to join them when Nurse Joy told him that Charmander was feeling better now. Charmander was awake, but lying down. Hi there, Charmander, Ash said. Charmander's flame was low from what Ash guessed was normal for a Charmander based on Damien's shiny one, but brighter than he had ever seen it before. Charmander suddenly got up and off the bed and seemed pretty happy as it waltzed towards Ash. Hey there, Ash said, opening his arms to welcome Charmander, who completely ignored Ash and went behind him. Ash turned to see Damien walking down the hallway, seeing the Charmander, and looking surprised. Charmander excitedly walked up to Damien and had one of the happiest expressions Ash had ever seen on a Pokemon. Oh hey, you still alive there? Damien asked. Charmander said. Well, okay, let me break it to you like this, since you're so keen on following me around, I don't got time for you, Damien said. He released his shiny Charmander. This guy's my favorite now. Now scram. Charmander seemed confused and tried following Damien as Damien walked off, only for his shiny Charmander to suddenly turn and use a weak scratch to ensure that Charmander wouldn't try coming back to Damien again. It was then that Ash saw one of the most pitiful things he had ever seen. Charmander was crying. And not just a few tears, he was tearing up like a fountain and wouldn't even get up, he was just lying in a puddle of his own tears as he continued to wail. Ash wasn't sure what to do. Nurse Joy wasn't around for the moment, and neither were one of her helper Chanseys, and Brock and Serena were probably busy with their battle right now. Pikachu stared at the Charmander, but seemed to be as lost as Ash as to what it should do. Eventually Charmander's cries softened down to weak sobs, but they still shook its entire body. Charmander then managed to get up weakly before falling back down. It was then that Ash finally decided to do something and sent out his Greninja. He was sure that his Pokemon would be great at trying to handle the Charmander. Pikachu helped Charmander get up and Greninja helped stabilize him. Charmander seemed surprised at the odd show of kindness. Hey Charmander, Ash said, his voice low and reassuring. It's bad what happened with you and Damien, and I know this is a bit hard to understand, but he never loved you. But you don't need him. I don't think he ever realized how special you are and just saw you for being weak. And I don't know if this is the wrong time to say this, but I have to say it eventually, or at least I think so do you want to join us? Ash extended his hand and Charmander began sniffing it. No, he wasn't sniffing it. Charmander was looking at the bite marks on Ash's arm which had been cleaned by the rainwater. Ash was wondering if Charmander remembered that it was the one who had done that, but Charmander's guilty face put all those doubts away. Charmander definitely recognized its own bite marks. You don't need to worry about that, it's okay, Ash said, and Charmander took a glance at Greninja and Pikachu, both of whom were smiling and then nodded before nodding off to sleep. With that, Ash took Charmander back to where it could get some rest. Brock and Serena then came in. So you're up now, huh? Serena asked. Well, it's 3 o'clock, so I guess he better be, Brock said. Nurse Joy then came in with a worried look on her face. Damien just left the Pokemon Center. This is a big problem for Charmander here. I know, Charmander was really upset at that, Ash said. Nurse Joy shook her head. No, you don't understand. All Pokemon Centers are equipped to heal only trainers' Pokemon as per league regulations. If Damien has released it and won't take it back, that means that it qualifies as a wild Pokemon now. How's that a problem? Serena asked. Pokemon Centers don't take care of wild Pokemon, Brock said as he realized it. Huh? Why not? Ash asked. Because they get a limited supply of funds from the Pokemon League, that's why they're free for all league-registered trainers, Brock said. But they're told they can't waste resources on wild Pokemon except under certain situations. I don't know what they are though. None of them apply to Charmander though, Nurse Joy said. He'll need at least another day to recover, but I'll have to discharge him now. Oh, no, I'm his trainer now, Ash said firmly. Oh, good then, Nurse Joy said. But I've already entered Charmander in as one of Damien's Pokemon. I'll need to get some paperwork done then, can you please hand over your Pokédex? Oh yeah sure Ash said as he reached for his Pokédex but then froze as if he had just seen a ghost. What happened? Serena asked as she watched Ash's shocked expression. My Pokédex, Nurse Joy, I'm sorry but I think I lost it somewhere, Ash said. Ash, how could you? Brock asked. That's literally one of the most important things that a trainer should always have with him. Sorry, Ash repeated meekly. You won't discharge Charmander, now, will you? I suppose I can take your word for it, Nurse Joy said. But do you have any other evidence that you're a league-certified trainer? I have my gym badges, Ash said and showed them to Nurse Joy. That'll do for now, Nurse Joy said. Ash sighed out of relief and then got up and headed out to leave. Hey! Where are you going? Serena asked. I need to get my Pokédex back, Ash said. I think I forgot it at Bill's place. How are you so sure? Brock asked. Well, I went back on the same road we came here by and didn't see it, and I don't think that it'd have fallen off onto the road without us noticing, so I think that's the only real place it could be, Ash said. Well, we're coming with you then this time, Serena said and Brock nodded. Ash really didn't need the two of them breathing down his neck while he retrieved his Porygon, but then again, he couldn't think of a way to refuse without RSNG suspicion after all that had happened last night, so he let them come with him. Ash didn't dare say it in front of Serena as he didn't want to look weak, but he was starting to feel really sore having walked all this distance so many times in such a short time frame. It didn't help that there was a steep walk up to Bill's house. Serena and Brock were discussing their battle. Brock had won easily, but Ash would have been surprised if he hadn't, with him being a gym leader and all, and with Fennekin's type disadvantage. It turns out that Oddish wasn't strong enough to hold its own, at least not yet. Ash buzzed the intercom. He buzzed it again 2 minutes later, and it was only after 10 minutes that Bill showed up. Hey, it's me, Ash, from yesterday, Ash said. Sorry to bother you, but I think I forgot my Pokédex here. Oh yeah, Ash, from yesterday, Bill said. Yeah, sure, let me just open the door and let y'all in. So yeah, I think it may have fallen out of my pocket, Ash said as Bill came to greet them. Bill was dressed in the same clothes that he had been wearing yesterday, though Ash wasn't someone to judge someone else on that front. Well, do you have the Find My Pokédex feature installed on it? Bill asked. No, Ash said. There's a feature like that? Yeah, Bill said. I studied the Pokédex extensively when I was learning how to build my machines. It's a neat little feature. He turned towards a computer. Just put in your name and trainer ID and it'll start locating it. Brock and Serena tried making some small talk, but honestly it wasn't very interesting, much like yesterday, since Bill seemed to be less interested than most people in answering things or talking about stuff that normal people spoke about. Maybe he was just shy, Ash guessed. Ash found his Pokédex really quickly with the software working and the fact that it was where he had put it yesterday. Now the only problem was trying to get his Porygon back without anyone noticing him. He finally made an excuse to go to the bathroom, which meant that he'd have some privacy. Only now he ran into another problem: just how was he going to call Porygon back to himself? At a complete loss for a minute, Ash then entered the bathroom for a moment to plan things alone to see that Bill had apparently installed a computer monitor. He shook his head. This was kind of going too far in his opinion on the whole tech-savvy thing, but he saw that it had a microphone with it, which he switched on. It was normally for voice commands, but Ash decided to say, Porygon, if you're done here I need you to come back out. A figure appeared on the screen, an icon of a small Porygon that got bigger and bigger as it finally materialized out of the screen, and Ash took it back into its Pokeball. He'd give it back to Jesse and James once he'd get the chance. With that over, they stayed for a while before going back to the Pokemon Center to await the next day. The next morning, Ash and his friends picked up Charmander alongside them and took off. They decided to forget about exploring the East Coast and decided to go back to Cerulean City, from where they'd continue on south of it to Vermilion City. Brock was ecstatic along the way. He'd finally get to visit the daycare south of Cerulean City. You guys don't know this, but I've always wanted to be a breeder, always, Brock said. Charles Darwin once said that not a man in 1,000 has the eyes to become a true breeder of Pokemon, and not 1 in 1,000 of them has the patience to become an excellent one. I've always been amazed at just what you can do by breeding Pokemon selectively. Seems kind of boring, Ash said. Who wants to just raise Pokemon instead of training them? Boring? Boring? Brock said, and then went on to a tirade. It's everything but boring. You can see artificial selection happening right before your eyes. You can see Pokemon evolutionary biology as you selectively choose which traits to breed and how you can progressively alter how they are generation after generation. He went on and on about breeding eggs and how it worked. Neither Ash nor Serena were really interested in breeding, but Brock's enthusiasm was contagious and they both decided that they'd at least check it out. Hey, Gary once told me that a Wylord and a Skitty could have a Pokemon egg together, Ash said. I told him he was lying, but he said it was true. Oh, yeah, that is possible, they're in the same egg group, Brock said. But, how would they, you know? Serena asked, her face turning bright red. Ash was blushing too. He had received the talk only a few weeks ago. Yeah, how'd that work? Well, Pokemon don't lay eggs like that, Brock explained. No one knows how or where they come from, they just seem to appear. Some people even say that they shouldn't technically be called Pokemon eggs, but Pokemon cradles instead. And the female Pokemon never seem to get fatter before laying eggs, no matter how small they are, and remarkably all eggs are always the same size, though some hatch faster. So I guess there aren't any real problems they'd encounter. But there are a few rules for breeding, namely that the egg species always is the mother's, but the Pokemon inherits moves preferentially from the father. It can lead to a whole lot of combinations of Pokemon knowing moves they couldn't normally know. Well, it looks like we'll be there soon, Ash said as Cerulean City came into view. But before we go south, I think there's someone we should talk to first. Back at the Pokemon Center, Nurse Joy was relaxing and enjoying one of her few breaks. It was tough being a nurse, she had to work twice the amount a normal person would do, and it was usually for ungrateful people like Damien who frankly didn't deserve to be around Pokemon at all, let alone try to train them. The salary she got was okay, but it wasn't much compared to how much a nurse for humans would make, and it was even smaller when you considered the debt from nursing school. She was interrupted in these thoughts by a helper Chansey coming up to her and handing over a report. She looked worried. What happened? Nurse Joy asked as she read a Charmander's, yes, that Charmander that Ash had, blood report. She read it again. And then rubbed her eyes to make sure she wasn't dreaming and then read it again. She had heard of this happening before, but she had never seen a case like this herself, despite her long years practicing. As such, she had no idea what to do, but decided that it would be best to inform the trainer first. He did say that he would be going towards Cerulean City, and she could always ring up her cousin there. I'm not sure about this, but I think we should try, Ash said. We're with you, Ash, Brock said, and his Pikachu nodded. Except I think Serena and I are gonna wait outside. You have our support though. Ash walked into the Cerulean City gym and asked around for Misty. He found her trying to tackle a mountain of paperwork almost a foot tall. Hey, Ash said. Misty snapped up from whatever document she was perusing and said, what is it this Tim? Oh. Yeah, it's me, Ash said. Pikachu hopped on to the desk. We were coming back to Cerulean City and I wanted to drop by. Well, great, Misty said. Ash noticed that she looked tired, and guessing from the mound of paperwork he assumed that Misty was being handed the scrub work of running the gym. Listen, see, the thing is that when I went up north I saw a Charmander and it was pretty small and all and had been abandoned, but the thing is that when I found out, okay, it's a long story, but I thought right then and there that it would have been good to have you along, Ash said. The thing reminded me of you. Misty frowned. Ash, you're not making a whole lot of sense. Are you saying that I'm like a Charmander? Pikachu facepalmed. He had known that Ash wasn't very good at these things, but he hadn't expected something along these lines. No, what I mean to say is, Misty, do you want to come back and travel with us? Ash asked. I know you were just tagging along because of your bike, but I guess I didn't realize how great it was having you along. I know this gym probably means a lot to you, but come on, I mean, you can probably learn a lot more and get stronger outside. And if it means that much to you, I can always go ahead and break something else so you can follow me until I pay that off. Pikachu then did an anime fall, seeing as a facepalm wasn't good enough in this situation. Misty sighed. Ash, you really don't know what to say, do you? She then got up, and Ash thought she was leaving, but she grabbed a stack of paperwork and dumped it into a dustbin. Good riddance, she said. You know what, Ash? You're right, and don't get me wrong, I'll come back to run this gym the right way one day. But maybe for now. I'll just tag along with you. Ash smiled. Glad to have you back. Despite this initial warmness, they would be back to shouting at each other within 15 minutes. Ash felt like someone about to tell a little kid that Santa Claus wasn't real. Only that little kid was Brock. And Santa Claus was the daycare. What do you mean it's closed? Brock shouted to the heavens. I don't know why, Ash said. The sign just said dash. But wait, Brock said. There's sounds coming from inside. I bet there's still people in there. Brock then ran into the place, ignoring the closed sign outside. Hey Brock, you just can't go and barge into a place that's closed, you're supposed to be the responsible one here. Ash said. This is coming from the guy who broke into Bill's place. Serena asked. Wait, you broke into Bill's place? Misty asked. It's a long story and I didn't break in technically since someone needed help, Ash said. Ash followed Brock anyway though, disregarding the sign just like Brock had to enter the daycare. It was a large room kind of decorated like a preschool classroom. There were colorful pictures of Pokemon on the wall, a few chairs, and a PC in the corner. The only person there was an elderly-looking gentleman reading a book. "Excuse me," the man asked, looking up from his book. "Where are Mr. and Mrs. Wartenheimer?" Brock asked. "Who?" Ash asked. "I'm afraid the two of them have left this place for now," the gentleman said. He frowned. "I was sure that I put a sign that this place was closed outside." "It must have fallen off or something," Brock said quickly. "But what do you mean they're gone?" "Well, Mrs. Wartenheimer suddenly came down with a respiratory illness, sadly, but I do not know the details. They could no longer stay so close to Cerulean City and have moved their business to the Sevii Islands," the man said. "Who are Mr. and Mrs. Wartenheimer? Ash said. "Wartenheimer," Brock said. "They're the best, the pioneers of Pokemon breeding. They worked for over 50 years, it was when I saw one of their programs on television that I decided that I wanted to be just like them." "I see," the man said. He got up and shook Brock's hand. "It's always excellent to meet with another fan. You see, I was with the two of them, or at least I remember back when they had just started this daycare when I was but a boy." "Wait, so you know what they did, right?" Brock asked. "I came here looking for advice, so I could see something firsthand." Ash turned his head. Misty and Serena finally seemed to have gotten the courage, or the stupidity, to break in along with them. The man paid little attention to the others though. "I'm terribly sorry, I just used to visit the daycare when I was little. When they left, it reminded me of my days as a youth and so I bought it. I have very little that I could teach you." "Oh," Brock said. "I've tried running this place, but as of now, I can only care for your Pokemon. I have yet to master the art of breeding, so per se," the man said. "But I do have some extra materials here, wait and I might be able to help you with something." The man walked out towards the back where there was grass and a small pond where there were two Mario that were playing and a Pidgey as well. There was a small warehouse that he went into. "What happened?" Misty asked. Brock told them what was up. "Oh, sorry Brock," Serena said. "It's okay," Brock said. "I never knew that they'd left this place." "We could hightail to the Sevii Islands if we get time," Ash said. "Unlikely," Brock said. "There aren't exactly any gyms there for us to stop by." We can always make time," Misty said. The man came back with a load of stuff in his hands. "See, this dash," he said, placing a small box as big as Ash's fist onto the table, "is a device for storing Pokemon eggs." Looking closer, Ash could see that it had 6 tiny wells inside that seemed to be a good fit for tiny eggs. Pokemon eggs are larger of course, but this incorporates the same technology as the Pokeball. "It makes carrying around a bunch far easier," the man said. "And this is one of their journals, I've already read it but you can see if you can learn something from it." The man then showed them 2 holes at the bottom of the egg container. Ash noticed a Sylph Company logo on the bottom, and one hole that was meant for a Pokeball when it was in its tiny form. If you happen to catch a Pokemon that knows magma armor or flame body, you can place a Pokeball here and the heat apparently gets conducted and makes the eggs hatch faster and develop better. And this slot, well, I honestly can't tell what it's for, but they seem to be excited talking about it. The guy then gave Brock quite a bit more tips that he had heard, things like that it was possible to give the mother an Everstone so her nature was transferred to the offspring, or that Pokemon like Magnemite could also breed with a Pokemon like Ditto. "Thanks," Brock said. "This'll all really help. If anything, I'd also like to offer you something else," the man said. "Would you like a job?" "Huh? I mean if you would like to join me," the man said. "I usually take care of Pokemon, I haven't read up much or have much interest in hatching Pokemon for others. But if you're interested, the two of us could run this place together." That's a taut offer," Brock said. Ash couldn't believe that someone else was leaving in such a short matter of time, they had barely gotten Misty back right now. "But I don't think I want to commit to a single place right now. I'd like to go out and explore too, I hope you understand." The man nodded. "Truly I do. I'll tell you one thing lad, if you don't go and try to see the world while you're still young you'll never get around to doing it. He then turned to the others. Well, would any of you like to leave your Pokemon here to be raised? We charge a modest fee. Thanks but no thanks, Ash said. I think I prefer to raise my Pokemon by myself. Misty and Serena nodded. I see, the man said. Of course, in my opinion Pokemon should, of course, be raised by their trainers. I usually get requests from children, or wealthier patrons who want their work done for them. Ash nodded, he agreed. Brock still looked disappointed, even as they were leaving. Hey, do you happen to know where they are? Or have their contact number? Brock asked. Oh, no. They told me that they didn't want to be disturbed anymore. They had had enough of the fame for the time being, the man said. I'm truly sorry that you didn't get to meet them. It's alright, Brock said. They wished the man good luck and on the way all of them tried their best to make Brock feel better on their way to Vermilion City. Brock seemed to return to his normal self, but he said, you know, it's not that bad really. I just wanted to meet my childhood heroes, you know. Yeah, I suppose all dreams don't turn out exactly how you plan them to, Misty said. But then she smiled. But hey, look on the bright side, you might not always find what you're looking for or get you what you wanted, but you might just find something different, something better. Get what I'm saying? Ash and Serena didn't, but Brock seemed to understand. Yeah, I guess so. Looks like it might rain, Serena said, looking at the clouds gathering above the sky. The mood had gotten far too serious for Ash's liking, so he went ahead and grabbed one of Brock's frying pans out of his bag. Well, I'll just turn my frying pan into a drying pan. And then Ash put it on like a hat. The three others stared at him, speechless, before they burst into laughter that lasted for a good few minutes before they could say anything. That has to be the worst joke ever, Misty said. If that's so, why are you laughing so bad? Ash asked. It's so bad, that's why it's so funny, Brock said. It did seem to work though, and it didn't rain thankfully as they made a long and mostly uneventful trek towards Vermilion City. Oh, sure, the sights were all incredible, especially the huge lake that was nested between two huge forests just outside the city limits, but Ash didn't pay much attention to how the clouds raced past the surface of the lake, or how the deep blue sky embraced legions of Pokemon of all varieties that could fly. No, Ash Ketchum was interested in getting his third gym badge. So much so that as they finally got there a bit after noon, he said, I'm gonna go challenge the gym. You guys can go on ahead. Ash, we just barely got here, Brock said. And your Pokemon should rest before a battle like that. Yeah, Serena said. You can't keep pushing them like that, Ash. They haven't really battled but they'll need, for that matter, I think you need some rest too. Thanks, but no, Ash said. After all, I breezed through my last two challenges pretty easy. Hey! Brock and Misty said at once. So I think you can all head over to the Pokemon Center, and I'll meet up with you guys with my new badge, Ash said. Ash, before you challenge a gym leader, you should do more research, Misty said. Get to know what kinds of Pokemon they use, figure out how you can gain an advantage, and most importantly fight when you're red. Oh, so you're just going to walk off anyway, aren't you? I don't know why I bother. Even someone like Ash had to enjoy one thing about Vermilion City though, the ocean. Being someone who had been cooped up in Pallet Town for practically forever, the vast expanse of water was something majestic enough to render even him speechless for a second. He had turned back before he had seen the coast where Serena had come from. As such, Serena wasn't very impressed with the ocean, at least not as much as the others, and was more focused on the S.S.N., a huge cruise ship lying near the pier. They went away from that though, towards the gym which was guarded by two extremely muscular people who looked like bouncers at a bar, and probably performed the same function. So, what's with this gang of babies here? The guy asked. I'm here for a challenge. Ash said. Why don't you come back in a few million light years, twerp? You're too young to take on our boss, Surge, the girl said. I'll have you know that I haven't lost a single battle since I left from Pallet Town, and I already have 2 badges, Ash said. Probably 1 from Wimps, but our boss ain't like that or the other gym leaders if you'll ask around, the guy said. Hey, both Brock and Misty glared at the guy. I'll see about that, Ash said. The 2 of them relented and led Ash into the gym. It was just a large, huge, flat field with a man in a military uniform sitting at the other end of the field. Well, I see that someone's crawled out of their crib to take on the big boys, huh? Which one of you losers wants to tussle? You're Surge? Serena asked. Lieutenant Surge, Missy, thank you very much, Surge said as he got up. Now, do I need to repeat myself, or do you guys don't know what I'm talking about? Who am I supposed to pummel today? I'm the challenger, Ash said. Pikachu. Go. His Pikachu stepped forward. Lieutenant Surge laughed, a loud, ugly laugh that echoed throughout the gym. That the best you got? You really is a baby, ain't you? Raichu, go. He released a Pokemon much like Pikachu, only that it was larger and was colored slightly differently. This battle'll be 1-on-1, Lieutenant Surge said. You sure you want to go ahead and send out that electric rat to fight me? Pikachu glared at Lieutenant Surge angrily. Yeah, Ash said. Pikachu was a better choice than either Froakie or Charmander at least. Well, I see you're still using your training wheels, Lieutenant Surge said. You couldn't have bothered evolving your Pikachu? I evolved mine the moment I got it. Heh, but we'll see just what it is that you want to do. Kick his butt, Ash, Misty said as she and the others went to the sidelines. Pikachu, start off with a Thunderbolt. Ash said. The attack was powerful. Pikachu had grown more experience lately, but the Raichu shook it off. Not bad, twerp, Lieutenant Surge said. But here's how an adult handles things. Raichu. Thunderbolt. The Raichu's Thunderbolt was, no doubt, far more powerful, and while it didn't knock Pikachu out, seemed to have done some extensive damage. Ash realized that spamming Thunderbolts wasn't going to get him out of this situation, so he tried a different approach instead. Raichu. Body Slam. Lieutenant Surge said. Pikachu. Dodge. Use Double Team. Ash said. Pikachu managed to avoid the body slam not only once, but 3 times before the Raichu seemed to have anticipated Pikachu's movements and was successful. Pikachu was getting crushed under Raichu's weight, and with a look as malicious as that of its trainer, Raichu used Bite to strike into Pikachu hard. Pikachu reflexively let out a Thunderbolt, which dazed the Raichu at such a close range, but then Raichu replied with its own Thunderbolt which ended the match for good. I'll see what we can do, Nurse Joy said. But this is the 11th case I've seen this month. Lieutenant Surge really need to learn when to stop using so much force. Thank you, Ash said numbly as he saw his Pikachu who had never been injured so badly, except during that time with the Spearow. To think that it had been again reduced to such a state, and all of it was Ash's fault. Ash went back to the waiting room. This would be a long night. Ash, what you need to do is go and challenge him again next morning, Brock said. Take one of my Pokemon and let's just see what he does against that. Ash shook his head. No, I'm definitely going to do this myself. Ash, Misty said. This isn't just about you. This man's been hurting these Pokemon, someone needs to teach him a lesson. And he'll get that when I beat him with my own Pikachu, Ash said. That's alright Ash, we'll think of something tomorrow, Serena said. Why don't you eat dinner and get some sleep in the meanwhile? I don't feel like eating or sleeping right now, Ash said. He wasn't angry at anyone but himself. He kept thinking that he could have done something, anything, to have changed the outcome of that battle. He didn't sleep but after a while noticed that there was a commotion going on in the Pokemon Center. He really didn't care what the source of all the new activity was, but whatever it wasn't dying down, so he decided to check it out. What could they be getting so excited about in the middle of the night? Ash thought as he saw a huge crowd around the television screen. "What's up?" he asked someone. "Wait and see, they're repeating the news," the guy answered. Ash watched the screen while the news reporter went on about something happening in Johto. And now to recap for all of our viewers who have missed out, the Pokémon League associations of both Kanto and Johto have decided that as the two regions are so closely connected, that they are merging the two associations. As such, the Pokémon League Championship will now no longer be held separately for Johto or Kanto, but as a single large tournament. Ash raised his eyebrows. Wait, did this mean that he would have to go and wander around Johto to collect 8 more badges as well? The rules have yet to be put into print, but the league officials state that trainers only need to defeat 8 gym leaders from either region to qualify, so trainers currently on their journeys do not need to worry. The tournament will still be held every single year as usual. However, all 8 badges must be from one region, or so the league says. Trainers cannot have 4 from Kanto and 4 from Johto. Further updates will be given as and when the Pokémon League finalize this arrangement. People all over are looking forward to this tournament, which will be largest ever held in human history. Ash turned away from the crowd and began walking back towards his eat earlier. Well, this was new, but it wouldn't change his plans much. If anything, he was feeling excited. This would mean that if he won the Pokémon League, he would be the best not only in Kanto but also Johto, 2 regions. It was an exciting prospect, but not enough for him to forget what was currently happening to Pikachu at the moment. He finally decided to go and eat something, but stopped mid-meal as he felt he couldn't take another bite. He couldn't see the others, he guessed they were either already asleep or out somewhere doing something without him. He fell asleep on a nearby sofa that really wasn't too much uncomfortable considering the fact that he'd been sleeping on rough ground for quite a while. It felt like he had just closed his eyes when he was jolted awake. Mr. Ketchum," a voice that Ash recognized as Nurse Joy's said. "Yes?" Ash asked. "Well, your Pikachu is all better now and is raring to go. There's also something I'd like to show you," she said. "Can't it wait until tomorrow morning?" Ash asked. "Well, it is already 8 o'clock in the morning, and your friends are up and dressed, and I think they're waiting for you," Nurse Joy said. She could understand how Ash was feeling though. Not getting enough sleep was basically the definition for a Pokémon nurse working in a busy Pokémon center. Ash somehow managed to get off the sofa, rubbed his eyes, and wearily walked in the opposite direction of where he was supposed to be going until Nurse Joy corrected him. Pikachu was sitting on a bed, and Serena, Misty, and Brock were there too. "Rise and shine, sleepyhead," Misty said. "Misty wanted to draw something on your face with a marker and send it to your mom, but we decided to leave you alone," Serena said. "Hey! If I remember correctly, weren't you the one who put up the idea in the first place?" Misty asked. "So what is that you wanted to show us, Nurse Joy?" Brock asked, ignoring everyone but Nurse Joy for the time being. "Well, I heard you were beaten since Lieutenant Surge's Raichu is evolved, and I was lucky enough to find this," Nurse Joy said, taking out a beautiful transparent stone that was streaked with yellow bolts uncannily resembling lightning. "A thunderstone. It'll help your Pikachu evolve into a Raichu. If you want it, that is." "I think Pikachu should decide it," Ash said, placing the thunderstone at the foot of Pikachu's bed. Meanwhile, Jessie, James, and Meowth were busy watching from a nearby bush. "That thunderstone was expensive, but I think the boss won't mind if we put it on Team Rocket's tab, as it was for his son and heir, after all," James said. Right, but do you feel like we've done too much?" Jessie asked. "I mean, he's just lost his first battle and we're practically heaping something that will make the rematch easier onto him. Do you think he'll still grow up strong if we keep assisting him? It makes me wonder if I should have or shouldn't have kept that thunderstone where Nurse Joy'd find it. If he doesn't go through hardship on his own, it'll make things much more difficult for him in the long run." "Nah, don't worry," Meowth said. "We need to make up somewhat for pretty much leaving the poor kid near Cerulean City. Couldn't come close with all the cops swarming around the place like Combi. And I thinks the kid needs a break. Much to their surprise though, Pikachu refused the Thunderstone and began ranting. Oh dear, Meowth said, teary-eyed as Pikachu finished its speech. Stop crying and tell us what he said, James and Jessie said in unison. Meowth wiped away a tear and said, Pikachu says that it doesn't want the Thunderstone, 'cause it wants to strike out at Raichu, not as another Raichu, but as a Pikachu. Raichu looked down on Pikachu, and Pikachu said that he's gonna make that right, and strike a blow not only for himself, but for Pikachu everywhere so that they can be proud of who they are. Wow, James said. That's really cool and all, kind of like an action hero, but this does mean that we wasted a good amount of our funds on that Thunderstone. Oh come on James, Jessie said. This is a Pokemon Center, how hard do you think it's gonna be to snatch it back from Nurse Joy's gullible hands? Silver absent-mindedly stirred his coffee as he tried to take in the news of what was happening. Lance, Elite Four champion, was on the television screen giving a speech from the exit of Victory Road itself. The Victory Road this was little more than a gimmick as chairs and tables had been laid out, but it did look impressive nonetheless. And, well, as many of you would know, I'm the Elite Four champion of both Kanto and Johto, and many members of Kanto and Johto have been hopping around throughout the Pokemon League's administration from one side to the other for years. And it was when we decided to build a large bridge connecting Johto and Kanto, and with the two regions so closely related together, it only seemed natural for us to bring the regions together finally. Silver shuddered. He had several scars on his back from when he had been stupid enough to try and steal several Dratini eggs from Lance's own possession when Silver was just 10 years old, and he had barely gotten out of that situation alive. The scars twitched whenever he was reminded of the Elite Four champion. And so, Lance continued, it was a bit of a big decision, but now this means that the Kanto and Johto League is now the largest current Pokemon tournament in the whole world. But don't you think it would have been better to wait regarding these changes? The interviewer, a typical young reporter asked. I mean, won't trainers need time to adjust to these changes? Well, that is a valid point, but the league seasons for both Kanto and Johto were already pretty synchronized, Lance said. And the season has just started anyway. But to be sure that there aren't any people left behind, we've decided to extend the campaigning season by a month. Not to mention that next year is a leap year anyway, so everyone gets an extra day from that. Lance chuckled, and the reporter politely made a few noises that resembled a Psyduck sneezing at the rather lame joke. So, everyone's next big question then is, where will this new contest be held? The reporter asked. Lance looked uncomfortable at the question. That is a matter, that has yet to be resolved. We, that is to say, league officials as well as I, believe that for now we are considering having it in the Indigo Plateau. The reporter looked shocked. But, that's in Kanto, no? And that's where the old Pokemon League in Kanto was held. Yes, so that way it would be easier to organize, Lance said. But, that means that there won't be any Pokemon League somewhere near Johto, the reporter said. And the Pokemon League tournaments within Johto generate a lot of revenue and publicity for the people of Johto. All of that would be lost, and does the Indigo Plateau have enough room to accommodate double the number of normal people? Lance looked even more uncomfortable now. Again, it isn't as if we've finalized the location for the event. We're still looking into it, and rest assured that all Pokemon trainers will be given enough time once the location is finalized so that they can reach there. The screen then cut to another reporter saying, but not everyone is happy with what Elite Four champion Lance had to say. The screen cut to a man in a business suit who looked really angry. Come to think of it, Silver had seen the guy before, and he was that one guy on TV who was always angry at something or the other. This is just intolerable, inexcusable, egregious, misplaced, moronic, capitalist, racist, nationalist, communist mumbo-jumbo designed to oppress the masses, the guy said. Let's get one thing straight here, this is all just another example of how Cantonese culture has come to dominate Johto. It all started of course with them winning the Kanto-Johto War a few years back, and ever since then, Johto has lived under Kanto's foot. Wake up, people of Johto, Lance here is trying to finish Kanto's domination of our region and our culture, and I for one am not going to sit here and see him do it. The screen flickered. As you can see here, this has angered many people. Here you can see protesters outside the Johto Pokemon League headquarters burning effigies of Lance and declaring that there should still be 2 Pokemon Leagues. People have been selling small plush dolls of Lance online and then blowing them up in elaborate manners and uploading the videos online. The news kept blaring after that, but Silver wasn't really listening anymore. Instead, he was thinking about how weird it was that this was all happening and just what it meant for him. He had heard about the Kanto-Johto War, or at least the very latest one, but it had been a few years before he had been born. But the independence of Johto's culture wasn't on his mind. No, it was a dream that that every kid in the world had. About winning the Pokemon League and claiming his position as Pokemon Master. Now, Silver had given up on that idea a long time ago, but right now, he felt as if it had reawakened. He took out the badge he had won from Bugsley. He had been working on trying to counterfeit it for the last few days. Sure, when he was 14 he had sold an entire set of knockoff badges to a businessman for a sum that was enough to feed him for a year, but if he could just figure out how to actually make replicas of the badges that even the Pokemon League couldn't tell apart from their originals, but it wasn't going smoothly. His dreams of building a huge fortune from selling counterfeit badges would have to be put on hold for now. Silver gazed at the surface of his coffee, which reflected a distorted image of him. There was a point in every person's life where one had to ask, where am I going with things? Silver had agreed to go along with his father's plan since, given that he was already labeled as a crook, he naturally assumed that becoming leader of Team Rocket was about the best that he could ever accomplish in life. And yet no matter how much he told himself that this was the most practical thing to do at this point. And still, he couldn't keep the image out of his heart. An image of him entering the Pokemon League and competing for glory. He might have even ended up fighting against his brother in the tournament now, given that the 2 regions would be combined. But still, facing the facts, he had to say that he had no idea how he'd go about doing it. Without a doubt he was now one of Johto's most wanted men, but a disguise could help. But then the whole thing would involve sneaking it in behind his father's back. Sure, his father had pretty much given him free rein to do what he wanted, but Silver was sure that running around and collecting gym badges didn't come under what his father wanted him to do for Team Rocket. As such, it wasn't like Silver was scared of his father or anything, but he was far less gung-ho about being Team Rocket's heir now that Ash boy had turned up. It made him look disposable. It was a reminder that Giovanni had someone else to turn to in case Silver ever went rogue or turned out to be too much of a problem. It's just a stupid dream, Silver told himself. You're not really going to do it. But then again, if that was true, he wouldn't have been here. No, he would have gone to check out the new shipment of smuggled Pokemon by himself instead of ordering Butch and Cassidy to do it for him. The fact that he was still sitting here, contemplating if he could do it, meant that somewhere deep down at least he considered it possible. I'll be going out to see what Butch and Cassidy are up to, Silver told one of his minions. Anything you might need, sir? The guy asked. No, Silver said, and took 2 steps before he stopped and then said, come to think of it, buy a few of those Lance plush dolls they're selling, would you? And maybe some dynamite. Silver fidgeted in his disguise. Butch and Cassidy had helped him pick it out, and they swore that Silver was unrecognizable in it. But given what most people in Team Rocket considered to be a good disguise, of course Silver had his doubts. Silver had dyed his hair black and cut it a bit short. He was wearing blue contact lenses and was wearing clothes that were supposedly hip according to whatever he saw on television, consisting of sunglasses, ripped jeans, and a black t-shirt with a Duskull printed on it. Butch and Cassidy had suggested that he dress up as a girl as it would throw off suspicion even more, but Silver wasn't that desperate. He wasn't going to cross-dress just so that he could challenge a gym. He didn't tell the 2 of them what he was planning to do, of course. They were too loyal to his dad and he wanted to keep a lid on things for now. So he had snuck out on some other pretext and had to get his badge, and fast. He had forged an ID in the Pokemon League database, and as far as he knew it wouldn't raise too many questions. Faulkner was inside the gym. Silver didn't bother taking in the details of the gym. He had been here before, back when he was 8, and had been secretly living in the basement for about a week. Hello, Challenger, Faulkner said, starting the usual intro given by gym leaders. I see that you're here to fight me. Well then, prepared to be struck from above by my flying types. Silver rolled his eyes. Just get this over with. He muttered. Sneasel. Go. Hoot hoot. Faulkner said and sent out a small owl-like Pokemon. Silver had the advantage of speed, given that it had a natural edge over speed and the fact that it had been trained from Silver's childhood to be as swift as possible. Icy Wind. Silver said. The attack hit home, and it was enough to send the enemy Pokemon toppling. Silver was surprised at the swift and easy victory. Sure, he had taken down buggies with no apparent effort, but he had been expecting a sort of challenge at the very least. Oh well, he wasn't going to complain. Pidgeotto. Go. Faulkner said and sent out what Silver guessed was his signature Pokemon. Come back Sneasel. Go. Croconaw. Silver said. It wasn't that he was afraid his Sneasel couldn't handle the Pokemon, but he wanted his Croconaw to get in some battle experience too. Pidgeotto. Gust. Faulkner said. Water Gun. Silver said. Again, it appeared that Croconaw way outclassed the opponent Pidgeotto, and the water gun did a lot of damage, enough for Silver's Croconaw to jump up and clench the Pokemon between its teeth. All it took was a single Ice Fang for Silver to win the battle from there. Wow, you're pretty strong, Faulkner said. Oh, you're pretty weak, Silver thought. If all the gym leaders were this weak, he would soon have all 8 of them. Silver tried not to talk too much. He was pretty good at throwing his voice, but he couldn't really count on it. Oh, the strong and silent type, huh? Faulkner asked. Well, I remember a very powerful trainer much like that. Silver just nodded and walked out of the gym, where he then changed back into his normal clothes before heading back towards the Team Rocket headquarters. Sorry for the short chapter, but I felt it was necessary to get Silver in here again. Thanks for reading, and do please review if you liked. Alternate lines. Silver wasn't about to crossdress just so that he could challenge a gym. He wasn't that desperate. Miles away, in Kanto, Ketchum shook his head and said, pathetic.